All right, good morning. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Hopefully everyone had a great weekend. Ask me if I want to talk about the Maryland basketball game.
No.
Didn't watch even a second of it. And you know how good I feel? I feel great. It was too beautiful a day for me to spend it that way. I have no thoughts whatsoever. So we'll talk about other things this morning here on GCR. I mean, what would we say? That was embarrassing. But, like, come on. You can't really be bothered by it. They're not good.
Time to make some changes? What are we doing?
Well, no, that's the thing. Like, I had somebody say over the weekend, the truth is they couldn't have fired Kevin Willard. But the Derek Queen thing, it's almost to the point where, like, if not for that, it would be uncomfortable today. That provides just enough cover because there's some momentum overall. It's still big picture awkward. They're not good. Like, players did not take steps forward this season. I trust me, they didn't watch.
Jameer Young scores on the road now.
There's that. Good guy. I like Jameer Young. It's a real shame. It really is a shame with Jameer Young. He's a hell of a player, and like he might not even be as remembered as some of these other guys we were talking about a couple weeks ago. All right, I told you I didn't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. It's what it is. Yes, hi, Glenn Clark Radio. Today's show is brought to you by Atman's Deli. Oh, we are fired up about the new Atman's Deli in Harbor Point. You know, like, Atman's Deli already had a couple of great locations, great food. You know the corned beef. You love the corned beef. So how could it possibly get better? How could they do anything at all that would be better at Atman's Deli? Well, they figured out a way. And if you're craving that classic New York deli experience, look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different, a bar. Atman's Harbor Point. Go to atmansdeli.com for daily specials. Coming up this hour, Jim Callis. He was in Sarasota last week checking out Jackson Holliday and Paul Skeens. We'll see what it is that he thought about that big showdown and just the Orioles in general. And I wrote a column today about their outfield conundrum. We'll talk to Jim Callis about all of those things. Also on the program today, Garrett Degnon. What a win for Johns Hopkins on Saturday. Go on the road, take down Virginia. Bring back the Doyle Smith Cup to Baltimore. That was a really big win. And we're going to catch up with Garrett Degnon, who's been through everything in that program, right? Like, he arrived and coaching change and tough years and maybe people thinking there might be another coaching change, and he has now helped stabilize that program, and they'll be in the top three. I would assume it'll be Denver, Army at the top. Like, that's the wild part. Everybody just thought the ACC teams were all unbeatable until they all lost. All of them. Every single one. And Maryland lost, too. So, although Notre Dame bounced back nicely and beat Maryland after losing to Georgetown the previous week. So, they stabilized quite a bit. We'll talk to Garrett Degnon from Johns Hopkins a little bit later on. Also, it's Monday, so we'll chat with Jeremy Conn. I'm losing it on Twitter, and I saw this floating around over the weekend, but I didn't spend enough time with it because, again, the weather was too nice. Like, I was hitting baseballs with my sons, and
good.
It was just
nice.
There was no reason for me to spend any time thinking about it. I almost regret not making my column about it, although it's not as important as I'm making it out to be. It veers on, like, whenever anybody says, "We'll never forget pro football as professional wrestling." I'm trying to remember who it was. There was a writer from ESPN.com who reached out to me a few weeks ago after the AFC Championship game. And she was writing a piece about how there is a belief that, like, the NFL rigs games for the Chiefs. She was wanting to write about conspiracy theories and how, like, the stats actually said that the Chiefs were among the most penalized team in football and didn't back up these conspiracy theories. And she wanted to get into the mind, and she assumed that, like, a lot of Ravens fans were probably reacting that way. And so she called myself and Ken Weinman.
Because you two are the biggest.
We are the authorities, right? Like, No, not because she thought we were conspiracy theorists, because she was trying to get the sense of what Ravens fans were talking about in the aftermath of the AFC Championship game. And when she called me, I was like, yeah, the thing is, nobody was really talking about that. They were talking about how the Ravens didn't run the ball. Like, that was the topic of conversation. And she was like, that's what Ken told me too. I'm like, well, yeah, because that's what we were talking about. Like, she was like, so you didn't really hear from him? During the game, there was a little bit of that because of some of the questionable calls, but that wasn't the story after the game. After the game, it was, why'd you stop running the ball? But I bring that up because whenever anybody says the NFL is rigged, or don't forget this is just professional wrestling, or whatever it is, I always snicker at them. You bet. And whenever you're a gambler, you are looking for this. I wasn't wrong. They were wrong. Reasonable folk who don't, and look, man, I love betting. Betting's fun. Jeremy told me to bet Wisconsin this weekend. That didn't go so well. But I still wandered over to Superbook. I couldn't use the code because I've already used it, but you could still use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. Receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Superbook.com, download the Superbook app. All good. I'm not mad. It's not about the officials. Frankly, truth be told, I didn't even watch the game. Maybe it was. But we say these things, and it's hogwash. Because what you're really trying to suggest is that all parties involved, any one of them would be able to have control over the rest of the parties involved. So, for example, in your conspiracy with the NFL is rigging a football game. How? Well, they're going to call more pass interference. Right, so they call pass interference on first down to benefit the offense. But then on the next play, someone from the defense intercepts the ball. So how is the NFL able to rig that? Tell me how that worked.
Well, Lamar's in on it.
If it was right, because now right, so there's one guy that's in on it. Are all 22 of them in on it, or just the one? Because then presumably, let's just say Lamar was in on it. Now let's use another name. Let's use Dave Jones is the quarterback of your favorite team, and Dave Jones is in on it. And so he decides he's going to throw a ball that will be easily intercepted. But your wide receiver, Joe Johnson, isn't in on it. So he sees that ball, and he thinks to himself, oh, crap. That's a terrible throw. That might go get intercepted. And he goes and breaks it up. So you were able to rig it, but instead, he goes, breaks it up, tips it to himself, and then takes it for a touchdown. You realize how effing stupid you seem when you think these things? When you genuinely believe that a game can be controlled. Which isn't to say that I am so naive to think that there haven't been opportunities, there hasn't been a moment, but to think there's some conspiracy where we're going to fix an NFL game. We're going to buy in on a player who's lower on the roster, who would need the money, offer them, X amount of dollars. Obviously, in order to make up for that amount of dollars, we're going to have to bet heavily, which then puts investigative eyes on us and on everything about the game. And that player who's on the low end clearly is going to be able to manipulate 22 players who are on the field that are all probably more significant than they are. This definitely makes sense. No, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. I'm sorry. God bless you. And I get it. In your conspiracy theory riddle brain, you're like, Glenn, you're not thinking. No, you're an idiot. So when I say what I'm about to say, understand that I don't actually mean that this makes the NFL pro wrestling. But this is so manufactured that it plays into the hands of the people that believe that. Apparently, the NFL forced all of the special teams coordinators into a room and said, you've got to fix a problem, which did not actually exist. The NFL believes it's somehow a problem that so few onside kicks were recovered. I want to start with that because the premise alone ain't just flawed, it's absolutely bunk. Onside kicks are supposed to be unbelievably difficult. That's the concept. The concept is you alternate possessions. That's the name of football throughout eternity. I get it. Lacrosse, for example, is a sport where you don't alternate possessions. You have a competition to determine who gets possession. That's been debated over the years. Would it be better for lacrosse to just alternate possessions? But we're so used to it. It's such a part of the game that we don't want to take it out. But would the sport be better? Would it be more pleasing to the viewer? Would it get more casual people to be involved if you took out the concept of the face-off and you just knew? We're watching that right now with the sixes competition, right? That's the one that's going to be in the Olympics. A team scores, the other team gets the ball. Kind of like the way that it's always worked in every sport. It's what we're used to. But lacrosse uniquely is the one sport where it hasn't been a given. You get 3 outs in baseball, you don't then have a competition to see who comes up next.
Be interesting.
You don't then say, well, we could go to the bottom of the second, or
just skip to the...
Or, now hear me out, if you can hit an inside the park home run, then you get to get 3 more outs instead. The idea is that the nature of sport provides that the next team gets the ball after this team scores. I don't know why the onside kick became a play. I don't know the history of it. Obviously, what we are used to with the onside kick is the idea that it gives some slim hope to a trailing team that they would still have a miracle of a chance at the end of a game. And for the NFL, that's good news because there's just enough of a silver lining that maybe people will stay tuned to a game a little bit longer than if they look up with 2.5 minutes left and realize it's a 2-score game and
it's over.
It's over. So, and your team doesn't have any time. You got to know the timeout situation, obviously. Your team has no timeouts left, so it's over. The NFL...
So Flacco's not on the other team.
Right, great point. Yeah. The NFL, in trying to manufacture nonsense and get away from the actual idea of football, thinks it's a problem that so few onside kicks have been recovered. To be abundantly clear, it is not a problem. This is eternally who we are. We want our dessert, not our dinner. Give us ice cream, not asparagus. We want to think that we can be fit and look good with our shirts off despite the fact that we don't want to eat any vegetables. We just want to eat Oreos. There are no consequences for our actions. We are a society of toddlers. It might snow tomorrow. Let me get drunk tonight and not have to worry about whether I have to go to work tomorrow. It's who we are as a people. The idea is you play a 60-minute game. By the way, the NFL has no the crazy part is like this is in the NBA, nobody wants to watch a game until the final couple minutes. It's not a problem in the NFL. Have you looked at the ratings? No one is saying, tell you what, I'll join the game at the end. It's not interesting until then. No one. It's not a topic of conversation. We all understand it's a 60-minute game. Minute 1 matters just as much as minute 60. Nobody says on Sundays at 1 o'clock, the thing is.
This is not really
just
anything going on.
Not doing it for me. I'll get back to you at the end. It's badass. But the NFL has decided it's a problem. It's supposed to be hard. The other team is supposed to get the ball after you score. If you screw up during the course of a game to the point that you're trailing by 14 with 2 minutes left, it's supposed to be really difficult for you to overcome that. Nearly impossible. Because the other 58 minutes matter. As we all know, because we're all tuning in for those 58 minutes. But if you want to get us to stop, then manufacture new rules for the end of the game. Change the rules. I don't know what just happened there.
Is that you? No,
It is. It was me.
But that's you talking right now?
I don't know who it was talking. I have no idea.
Maybe make it a way where if you score, inside 2 minutes and you're the trailing team, you get to add time to the game. That would make it interesting.
Why not? If you're the trailing team. So if you didn't see what these goofball special teams coordinators have come up with is you can only now try for an onside kick if you're trailing in the fourth quarter. And I want you to think about that. I want you to let that bounce around in your brain. Because when I say that's the closest the NFL has come to announcing that they're pro wrestling, what I'm saying is you are creating a rule that only benefits teams that are trailing. You are penalizing teams for success within the course of a game. This isn't like, hey, the team with the worst record gets the number 1 overall pick for next year. This is the audacity of you to jump out to a lead, you will not have access to a tool that you could use to benefit yourself. We're taking it away from you. Why stop there? Why not say, hey, if you're leading in the fourth quarter, you're no longer allowed to run the ball. You're banned from running the ball. Any run play would be a 15-yard penalty. Why not? If this is what we're doing, penalizing teams and coming up with fake manufactured concepts to try to have more exciting moments at the end of the game, why stop at getting rid of the onside kick? Now, you're thinking to yourself, why would a team that's ahead want to try an onside kick? Fair question. Of course, we know the answer. It doesn't happen frequently, but there have been instances where teams have thought that they could catch the other team napping, and despite the fact that they were leading in a football game, they've decided that they were going to go with a surprise onside kick because it's part of the game. Because the rules aren't different for the team that's leading than they are for the team that's trailing. How effing insane is that thought process? Imagine trying to introduce that in another sport. Imagine in baseball, you're allowed to bunt, but only if you're trailing. What? What? Say what? Yeah, sorry. If you're up by a run in the ninth and you get a leadoff double, and you're thinking to yourself, let's try to get that insurance run. We'll bunt the runner over. No, you're not. You're no longer allowed to do that. Sorry, you're leading, so we need to make it easier for the other team. But it has to be more difficult for you. What the? I almost said the F word. You imagine.
Sack flies are not allowed unless.
In basketball, they said, hey, you know how the NBA you can do advance the ball on a timeout? Yeah, but only if you're trailing. If you're leading, you still have to give the other team the entirety of the floor to try to trap you and get a turnover. If you're trailing, you don't have to worry about that. You can advance the ball and make it easier for you to get a shot. Because, hey, we just really want to help you guys out. You've been screwing up the whole time. We want to make it easier on you. This is insanity. And I mean that. It doesn't come off that way because it's just the stupid onside kick, right? Like, everybody's like, who cares, really? It's insanity. The thought process of having rules that are different for the team that's leading and the team that is trailing is as antithetical to the concept of competition as you could ever create. Ever.
I don't understand the point. So Pelissero said the hope for all parties is the new rule would make the kickoff game more exciting again. So I don't know why they. But what, do they really need that?
No, what they want is to manufacture more onside kicks being recovered, so more games, so
more games come down to the fourth quarter.
Correct. They want that. They don't need it, and they are clearly willing to go beyond any level of reason in order to create it. This is the definition of manufactured. This is, and I mean it, why stop here? The trailing team only has to do 1st and 8. If you're trailing, a touchdown's now worth 9 points. If you're trailing and you score a touchdown, we're going to give you a 3-point conversion option. If you're trailing. If you're leading, shame on you. How stupid were you for thinking that you should be scoring points in the first quarter? You're an idiot. Do you understand? Like, is it registering with you? So we got to say something at some point. I get it. It's not going to change anything. The NFL has all the power. But somebody needs to step up and say, no. You don't get to have different rules for the team that's leading and the team that's trailing. That's not competition. That's fake. That's illegitimate. The rules can't be different for the leading team and the trailing team. I think it's stupid enough that you have to announce that you're going to go for an onside kick. That's bogus. I get that they're saying, well, this is about the formation that you line up with, and so
you have 6 and 4.
We want the other team to know that formation's coming, and that way it can be safer, and I'm not in favor of it. But again, if it's for both teams, then it's at least legitimate competition. It gets rid of the surprise onside kick. And again, once you get rid of the surprise onside kick, the argument is there is no reason why the team that's leading would ever go for it. But you still don't put that in the rules. Like, we can all know that, hey, if you have to announce it ahead of time, there's absolutely no reason why the other team would ever attempt to do it. But to put it in the rules? No. 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 And again, the premise of we need to make it so that there are more onside kicks that are recovered is fake, is manufactured. It's like the double play thing in baseball. Everybody's like, well, you know, if you get rid of the neighborhood rule, then it's going to make double plays harder. Yes! You're getting 2 outs. That's not supposed to be easy. What are we struggling with here? You're not supposed to just be, well, we got a ground ball. It should automatically be 2 outs. No. You have to turn a double play. It shouldn't be manufactured. And the neighborhood rule was always manufactured. Getting rid of hard slides made a lot more sense, right? If you get rid of the hard slides, which, why did they ever exist in baseball? That was antithetical to the idea. Once you got rid of the hard slides, then there was no argument for, well, you got to get out of the way because these guys are coming in spikes up. Well, stop having them do that. Play by the rules of baseball. Not suddenly turn into American gladiators at second base. This isn't difficult. We've made it difficult. This isn't hard. There's no problem. This nonsense. Well, let's maybe instead of an onside kick, let's run a play. You know, at 4th and 15, and you got to convert it. Why? Is it too difficult? I know why the NFL wants to manufacture things. They want to bleed every second out of it. They want Sunday night, in particular Sunday night games. It's not really a problem on Sunday afternoons.
Because one of those 7-8 games is gonna.
If the game you're watching is a blowout, the network has the right to take you to another game that isn't. On Sunday night, on Monday night, on Thursday night, the NFL finds it to be a problem if the game that they get is a blowout. So how do we force people to stay. Because they do sell commercials on all 4 quarters of those games. And if you get if for whatever insane reason they continue to put these NFC East teams in primetime games that no one has ever asked to watch, they're like, hey, these markets are big. Let's Chicago, New York on a Sunday night. Let's do it. No one has asked for that.
Oh, we had a Bears-Chargers game on Sunday
You
night
always
this year?
get these the NFL has never figured out that they're the NFL. It's the weirdest thing, right? The NFL hasn't figured out that we'll watch anything that's good. They're still acting like they're one of the lesser sports, and like the market size has to matter. The whole country is going to watch. I've seen the ratings. Baltimore and Kansas City are not big markets. How'd the AFC Championship game do?
I believe it was one of the most watched games ever.
Ever. But the NFL, insanely, and their network partners are still 50 years removed where they think that the major market teams have to be the ones in the primetime games. Wow, we might not get an audience if we don't put the New York in the... No one wants to watch New York! I mean, maybe if Aaron Rodgers is healthy this season, maybe. We said that has to be proven, but maybe. But they still do this constantly where the Bears keep getting primetime games. Well, that's a big market. Philadelphia's a big market. Philadelphia's been good. That's unfair. Washington still gets primetime games. It's a big market. So they're, in their mind, to your point, they're going to get that Chicago-New York game, and they're thinking to themselves, God,
look at all these people that are gonna.
What if it's 31-7 at the half? We sold NBC sold 4 quarters worth of commercials. Everybody's going to tune out. How can we manufacture something that forces people to stick around? Well, coming back from down 24 isn't as hard as it used to be, so you better stay tuned. It's fake, man. Sometimes these things happen. Sometimes there are blowouts in football. And if your network partners don't get that, then I don't know why they're in the football business. God, you just feel so sorry for NBC. It's got to be miserable to be in the football business, which is why they continue to throw billions of dollars at the product. This is bat-ass, but inherently, as fake and as manufactured as it all is, the part that's illegitimate, the part that spits in the face of the concept of sport and competition is the idea that there is a different rule for the team that's trailing than there is for the team that's leading. And even if we know inherently there's no reason, if you have to announce ahead of time, for a team that's leading to be going for an onside kick, you can't put that in the rules. You can't say there are different rules given the circumstance in the game that benefit the trailing team, because that's the slope in which you start allowing people to think that everything is illegitimate, that it's all fake, that it's all manufactured. Sometimes one team is just better than the other, at least on that particular night, and sometimes the games are blowouts, and that's a bummer. Nobody enjoys that. We sit down to watch football on a Sunday night, and we get the New York Giants. Again, stop putting teams that don't have quarterbacks in these primetime games. There, solved it for you. We don't care about the markets. We care about the quarterbacks. And yes, even sometimes teams that have quarterbacks get blown out. That occurs. Not the Ravens, oddly. They almost never get blown out. This, I don't know why it's bothering me so much, because, again, it's an onside kick. It matters next to nothing, but it's fake, it's contrived, it's utterly manufactured, and it's illegitimate, and it's antithetical to the concept of competition. And we have to say that. We don't just get to sit back and say, well, it's the NFL. No, we have to say it out loud. This is fake. And in that way, it's outrageous. I'm Glenn Clark, and I approve this message. Promise you we're not just going to talk about onside kicks all morning. Although I
feel like we could, yeah.
I could. By the way, thank you. Griffin found the story. Elizabeth Merrill was the writer from ESPN that I was talking to. I don't think I ended up getting quoted in it. I think that I was I introduced her to franchise. That's right. That's what the story was. I introduced her to a franchise from Delaware, who's one of my favorite conspiracy theorists that calls
so
regularly.
You got acknowledgements in the article?
No, I don't think I was mentioned in the article at all. But she was like, "Can you try to get me to any of your listeners who are conspiracy theorists?" And I was like, "Damn it, I don't know." And I was like struggling with who was a conspiracy theorist, and so I messaged.
You didn't think of our guy on the Eastern Shore?
David Salisbury. I thought of him later. I did think of David, and I got her his information as well. But at first, I got her franchise. Franchise has always been my guy. He's called me for years. All right, very good. Now, let's talk some baseball this morning here on GCR. My day always improves when I know we're chatting with our next guest. He was in Sarasota last week. He checked out Jackson Holliday versus Paul Skeens. Of course, you know him from MLB Pipeline, MLB.com, MLB Network. He is our friend, Mr. Jim Callis, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Jim, it's Glenn. It's always great to catch up with you, man. Thank you for squeezing us in during a busy time in your year.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. I always enjoy talking to you, Glenn. And just in case you didn't realize or your listeners didn't realize, new Orioles top 30 prospect went up on MLB Pipeline this morning.
That so, I didn't realize. Now I'm excited. We have even more to discuss.
It just went live.
Excellent.
I don't know if it's minutes ago or a couple hours ago, but it is live. I will channel Brett Musburger, and you are looking live at the 2024 MLB.com Orioles top 30 prospects.
And I am indeed looking live, and we have some things to discuss. I look forward to this. Let me start just with, this was exciting last Thursday, although not exciting enough that anybody here was allowed to watch it on television, but that's a conversation for another day.
Hey, I tweeted video, Glenn.
Jim, you were our hero. You were our hero.
I've never tweeted a video. And I view Twitter as a necessary evil for being in the business. I'm not Mr. Twitter or Mr. X, but I've never had a video blow up like that. The video of Holliday versus Skeens and Rutschman versus Skeens, and Holliday versus Skeens, like Fox Sports retweeted it and credited me. It got retweeted a bunch of places and credited me. ESPN reached out like that. I've never had a video go viral like that before.
I think you might be the first person in human history to actually get appropriate credit for their video, by the way,
yeah,
too.
I don't know if that's because who knows why. But, yeah, it was and I wasn't policing it, but my phone was blowing up. Like, I had a bunch of fans like, thank God you're in Sarasota, but – yeah, so at least I took care of you that way.
So obviously, with Jackson Holliday failing against Paul Skeens, that means it's over. The hype is, yeah. I mean, it's just sorry. I mean, it's what it is. He's washed now. I am this, by the way, it's the cool part of spring training is that you have moments like that where like if we're gonna do this exercise, we all know it doesn't actually matter. We all understand that it tells us nothing about whether or not either of these players are going to be truly great players. But it was such a cool thing that it was such a bummer that there wasn't a broadcast for. So, Jim, let me start with Jackson Holliday and just say, is there any danger that we're getting too carried away when it comes? Because we're now at a point – it's one thing if this was 3 years ago and it's just like, hey, put him on the team because you need something to be excited about. We're now in a place where, like, Orioles fans are genuinely penciling in Jackson Holliday to be a starter and a star – for a team that they believe has a chance to compete to make a run towards a World Series, and he can't legally drink, and he's played like a couple of weeks' worth of games at the AAA level. Is there danger that we are going too far with the expectations for Jackson Holliday, or is he really this good that you can't go too far when it comes to it?
Can I say both? I mean, yeah, we're talking about a loaded team that has more players than it has spots open. He's played 18 games in AAA. The small sample size of spring training doesn't matter, but he's 4 for 17 with 7 strikeouts. So I don't know, it's all over for him. So I mean, realistically, he probably could use some time in AAA.
Okay.
And I don't care about the training stats. Like, it was just on the fact he's played 18. He's older than he has played games in AAA, and he's still pretty young. That said, he's so good that you really can't go overboard. Like, it's funny. Like, I did some Baltimore radio last week, and they asked me, like, projection. And I was trying not to go crazy, like, if he makes the team or even if he comes up early. And I was like, I don't know, like 270 with 20 homers. and then I was trying not to go crazy. I was like, I don't know, if you told me that Jack Holliday came out and hit 325 homers, I wouldn't be. Nothing he does this year would shock me, Glenn. I guess I'll put it that way. And I compare it to, everybody talks about, and I think we talked about this on your show before too. Last year he started the year in Single A, wound up in Triple A, his first full season in professional baseball. And I was actually talking to a reporter today from the Baltimore Sun, who's the story on it. And there are guys who have done that at the same age he did last year, 19, but they were international players. And Bryce Harper, none of them were in their first full professional season. I'm old. I've been doing this stuff for, I guess, 36 years now, which is mind-boggling to me. I still love it. The only player I can remember rising that quickly in his first full professional season is literally the greatest prospect I've ever seen, which is A-Rod.
Yeah.
And A-Rod did one better. A-Rod got to the big league.
Yeah.
And then the next year, A-Rod should have been the MVP, like in the season that Jackson Holliday's in now. Now, I love Jackson Holliday's prospect. I will take the under on him versus A-Rod.
Sure.
Right. I'm not going to go 696 homers and 100.
Right.
I looked it up, 117 and a half. I mean, A-Rod's probably, we don't have to, like, how chemically enhanced any of it was.
Right.
A-Rod's probably one of the top 5 position players in Major League history, and it might be top 3. Like he's ridiculous, as well as the best prospect I've ever seen. So if you're putting Jackson Holliday in the same sentence with A-Rod, and that's the whole sentence, it's 2 dudes, that's pretty ridiculous.
Jesus.
So, I don't think we can go too far.
I appreciate that, but I'm nervous about it, Jim. I am.
Well, but here's another way to feel better too.
Yeah.
I assume you've talked to Jackson or
yeah, of course, absolutely.
That makeup, it's like same thing with Adley Rutschman. Like, be fortunate the 2 years you pick number 1, have a guy that talented who gets it, works hard. I mean, you couldn't have better baseball bloodlines where you're a 7-time All-Star, your uncle is a baseball coach, your grandfather was a baseball coach, your grand-uncle, I don't even know what that's called, like his grandfather's brother, I guess it's a grand-uncle, was a longtime scout. Like, he's got the guy's baseball IQ's off the chart. He just gets all of it. So, I'm not worried that, there's pressure on him, but, it's nice. He's not Adley Rutschman. He's not coming in and everybody's like, you're the face of the franchise. You got to make us be good, which Adley did with some help. He's just going to be he just has to come in and be a cog. We're not asking him to, end years of losing all by himself. His makeup's off the charts. The baseball IQ's off the charts. I don't know. I guess nobody's ever can't miss. I don't see how this guy misses, Glenn.
No.
I just can't, any scenario he faces in baseball, he understands it. He's got people who've been through it. I mean, even coming to the Orioles, right across the clubhouse, you have a guy who was a number 1 overall pick and had all these massive expectations. So if you need to talk to somebody about what that feels like,
right,
there's Adley Rutschman.
Right.
He's a great guy, and I'm sure he's willing to talk to you about it. So, I don't know. It's all there. I don't know. I mean, I guess in a perfect world, if we were what would you improve about Jackson Holliday? Maybe make the arm a little bit stronger, and he'd be more of a no-doubt shortstop. He might wind up at second, but that's it. I don't know. What else would you change?
Well, okay. What about the power, Jim? Where are you at with how quickly the doubles can turn into home runs? Because I do feel like especially with Anthony Santander's future in question, and we'll see if it's – and we'll talk about Kobe Mayo more in a second and Kjerstad. But I do feel like that would be the one area where the Orioles in general could probably use a little bit more home run pop in the order. How quickly could Holliday provide that?
They have guys coming. Well, I mean, you just heard me say that, I don't know, I'm trying to be conservative, and I think he could match his age and homers this year at the big league level.
Yeah.
The guy had, I know it was only 12 home runs, but he had 51 extra base hits as a 19-year-old going from A to AAA. And look, like, a lot of these guys who are, like hitting savants, like everybody always likes to say the power comes last. Look, sometimes John Burroughs, if we want to use another guy with baseball bloodlines, the power never comes. And so it's easy to say, like, it's a cliche, the power, but like these hitting savants, the power does come last. And like, I'm going to do it again. I'm just going to be Mr. Hyperbole today. Like, Glenn, that's all you're going to get out of it.
We're good with it. This is the time of year for it, Jim. Hope springs eternal, man.
Let's go back to Mike Trout. Now, he was a year younger. He was 18, his seasonal age 18, his first full season. Mike Trout, noted slacker, who couldn't get past Kaye. Mike Trout hit 341, and he had 10 homers. He had 47 extra base hits. And then next year he had 326 as a 19-year-old AA, and he only hit 11 homers, and he had 42 extra base hits. So at the time, that's what people were saying about Mike Trout. Like, look, man, like when he got the full season ball, immediately, guys, this guy's unbelievable. He can really hit. He can fly. He plays great defense. How much power is he going to have? I remember talking to his manager at Cedar Rapids, Bill Noziello, who's been everywhere. He's now coaching at Ohio State. And Bill was like, this dude's going to be Mickey Mantle. In terms of he's like, it's just, this guy's so advanced hitter, and he's like, he makes adjustments with 2 strikes, puts the ball in play. He's a teenager. He hasn't learned to, he's still learning, which pitches to turn and attack. He's like, Bill Noziello just laughed. Because people are like, oh, I'm not sure how much power Trout has. That's the question. Might be 15 homer power. And Bill's like, no, I'll go Mickey Mantle on him. This guy's going to hit 30, 40 homers a year in the big league. And so, again, I'll be Mr. Hyperbole here. I have no concerns about Jackson Holliday's power. I'm not saying he's going to hit, be instant MVP necessarily like Mike Trout was in his first full season at age 20. But, yeah, the guy's such a good hitter. Yeah, I won't go 40 homers on him. But Jackson Holliday's going to be hitting 30 homers a year in the big league. And he's winning batting titles. He's that good. He's that good. Man, you're not slowing anything down. Jim Callis is with us here on GCR. Jim, all right, let me go to, because I am looking at the new top 30 rankings at MLB Pipeline, and I think the interesting part to me, I wrote today for Press Box here in Baltimore about the Colton Cowser thing, and I feel like a lot of other people's rankings have had some combination of Holliday, Basayo, Mayo as the top 3. You have Colton Cowser third in the new rankings at MLB Pipeline. And it's interesting. We see Colton Cowser. He's off to a great start, obviously, to the spring. But there is a question as to whether or not there's even room right now for the Orioles to have Colton Cowser on the roster. Because where would the at-bats come from? Do you have enough spots to get everyday at-bats? And if you can't, then you can't have somebody at the major league level that's not playing every day. Why are you more bullish? Or were you guys? Because I know it's not just you, and I want to make that abundantly clear. Yeah, it's me, Jonathan Mayo, and Sam Dykstra.
Yeah.
I mean, and look, we like Kobe Mayo. I mean, these guys are all ranked high on our top 100 prospects list. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Holliday's obviously number 1. Basayo's 17, Cowser's 19, Kobe Mayo's 30, Jackson Kjerstad's 32. If I'm comparing Cowser to Mayo, and I like Kobe Mayo, Kobe Mayo, big-time power, big-time arm strength. I'm not sold that Kobe Mayo's a third baseman. I think he's probably more of a first baseman in the long run.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
He has a very good career, but, draws walks, but dude does strike out a decent amount. And Colton Cowser is a better hitter, much better athlete, runner, more valuable defensively by far, plays center field. And I don't think he's got Kobe Mayo's power, but Colton Cowser is a 20-plus home run guy in the big leagues. I just what I think it is with Colton Cowser in general is, one, he's in – I can't remember. We rank farm systems twice a year, and we haven't done our new ones yet. We will by the end of the week. Well, the Orioles Orioles, I think, have been the number one farm system in our rankings the last 5 times we've ranked them, the last 2.5 years. And, Colton, I don't think he's got a plus tool, but it's like, we've got him as solid hit, solid run, solid arm. I think we're light. I think I'd give him 55 in center field. We give him 50 and 50 power. And, literally his whole career, he's been in the organization best prospect of baseball, whether it's Adley Rutschman or Gunnar Henderson or Jackson Holliday. And you got Pasayo, who's 18. You got Toby Mayo's got jaw-dropping power. And Heston Kjerstad's got more power. I just think he gets overshadowed because it's not jaw-dropping tools. So he might be, solid across the board when all is said and done, playing center field. So I just think I'll take it. Like, it's not like he doesn't have ceiling, but I think he's got, high. Like, he's probably got the second highest floor in the organization. Pasayo, you could argue. Pasayo's bat's so good, but he hasn't done it at higher levels. Calzer might have the second highest floor in the organization besides Jackson Holliday.
Wow.
But he's not. He doesn't have he's not going to hit a 450 foot home run, and he's not going to be wow speed down the line. But he's just a really good player in all phases of the game. I like Colton. I mean, as you can tell, I'm not being paid by the Baltimore Orioles.
Right.
I just really like the prospect a lot.
So let me pose it to you this way, because, and I say this, it is not a some people will call this a good problem to have. I want to make it clear. It's not a problem. The Orioles have had lots of problems over the years. This is not
this is better than 2018 level.
Yes. But what do you do now? Because I feel like you almost have to go one way or the other, where you either have to trade the established veterans if you're not signing them, because Santander's up after this year, Mullins and Hayes are up after next year, or you have to commit to one or more of those guys and trade a Calzer or a Kjerstad, because you have such a glut of these, and that's suggesting that Kyle Stowers couldn't still get his way back into this conversation, and remembering that down the road somewhere Enrique Bradfield is in this conversation as well. But it feels like you have to go one way or the other. Is Calzer so good that the answer is it's time to trade from the veterans and maybe restock the farm system or find a bullpen arm? Or do you say, hey, he might be that good, but if you can go, get yourself another starting pitcher, it's also okay to trade Colton Calzer?
Yeah, I think you're exploring all those options. I mean, the advantage he does have is that, if you're looking at him, and I'm not just saying get rid of these guys, but you're looking at the Hayes and Cedric Mullins and Ryan Mountcastle, who's, getting at bat to DH, and
right.
Santander. All those guys are making arbitration money. And Colton Calzer is going to be making minimal money for the next 2 or 3 years. That gives you even, we could sit here and talk. I mean, they could spend a lot more on the team if they wanted to anyway. But it gives you added payroll flexibility. Like I know they signed Ryan O'Hearn, but why couldn't Ryan Mountcastle wind up at first and Santander at DH and Calzer's in the outfield? And to be honest, Jackson Holliday, maybe he isn't on your opening day roster, and you're shifting guys around in various configurations. But I think, and I'm sure they are. I'm sure Mike Elias. I mean, everybody talks to everybody. I don't want to use the word exploring like they're actively marketing, but you're definitely listening and trying to figure out hey, if we traded Austin Hayes or Cedric Mullins or Santander or Calzer or Kjerstad,
right?
What are the various combinations we could get? I will say, I'm sure Orioles fans would like to see more Corbin Burns type trade.
Yep.
Go get a Dylan Cease to throw in the rotation or whoever. And there's ammunition there. If the White Sox trade Dylan Cease, they're not trading him for Cedric Mullins or Austin Hayes or Santander. They're going to want Calzer and or Kjerstad in that deal, or both. But the other thing that happens too is, look, injuries happen. I think the Orioles were somewhat fortunate with injury luck last year. And somebody could get hurt, and then all of a sudden, bam, there's at-bats that open up for somebody.
Sure.
I do think, as bullish as I am on the Orioles' future, this is probably, when you see the team make the big jump that they did last year, those teams almost always take a step back the next year. It's hard to win 101 games. So they're it may be, it might be a little bit of a frustrating year compared to 2023, where maybe the Orioles win. I think they're going to make the playoffs for sure, but maybe they win 92 games instead of 101. And maybe there's some awkwardness when you're trying to figure out how are you, how are we getting Holliday and Kerstad and Kauser and Kobe Mayo? Like, where are they fitting in the lineup? What are we doing with all these guys? Jordan Westberg, like, isn't fully established. So I think it's going to be a really interesting year. But this is probably going to – I think this is a year where you have to figure out those questions.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess let me phrase it this way, and then I promise I'll let you go, because all of a sudden I look up and you and I have barely scratched the surface, and we've already gone for 20 minutes, and it's why I love I'm telling you, Jim, every time I find out you're on the show, I get this massive smile because I love our conversation.
I talking to you too, Glenn. You always ask me good questions. We have great conversation. If we were going to talk about the whole top 30 list, we could probably go for 3 hours.
Oh, my God. All right, so I'll pose it this way. Beyond Holliday, I know exactly what you're saying about the team taking a step back, but they do have this sort of opportunity in front of them. And I'll put out that, like that Miami Herald report from a couple weeks ago, they balked about Basayo in conversations about Luzardo. I understand. I get it. But at the same time, there's a part of me that says, but are you maybe a Jesus Luzardo away from having a chance to take a step towards winning a World Series? Should anyone else be untouchable, I guess is the way that I look at it. Like, as close as they are, should anyone besides Holliday be completely untouchable?
No, and I always joke, I don't think anybody's untouchable. I mean, what if
you just told me Jackson Holliday could be like Alex Rodriguez. He's untouched. I don't care what you're giving. I don't care. Tell me you're giving me Shohei Ohtani. I'm keeping Jackson Holliday.
What if Alex Anthopoulos gets drunk one night and offers you, again, you'd have to find places to play all these guys.
Right.
But I'm giving you Austin Riley.
And their cost control.
Everybody has a price. But I know what you're saying. Yeah. They're not trading Jackson Holliday. But no, nobody should be untouchable. But the flip side of it, here's the good thing. I don't think they're going to win 101 games because that's hard to do anyway.
I get it.
But they're going to make the playoffs. I don't see how they don't make the playoffs. And it doesn't matter. The seeding matters, and who knows what playoff configuration they'll have in the future, and maybe they'll give teams buys or whatever. All you have to do to win the World Series it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. You just get to the playoffs, anything can happen. You could be 92-win wild card. Look at the Orioles last year. Look at the Rangers. The Rangers barely made the playoffs, and they won the World Series.
Yep.
So I don't think it's going to be a disappointing season in that, they're going to win 84 games and not make the playoffs. I'm just saying, this is going to be – I think it's going to be a little bit of a strange year after the joy of how fun last year was. You do have – and I'm with you. It's not really a problem. Call it a conundrum of you have 4 – of our top 32 prospects in the game are essentially big league ready, or at the very least pounding on the door.
Yep.
And you the Joey, they didn't have a place for Joey Ortiz really either. Before they were able to trade him, but they have a lot of stuff. Again, it's a conundrum. It's a good problem to have. But they're going to have to figure this out, because going into the off season, all those 4 guys are definitely going to be ready for 2025. And you can't have, qualified, big league regulars sitting on the bench. So my guess is, I don't know if we'll see a spring training trade. I would not be surprised if we see a mid-season trade of some sort.
Yeah.
To go get a pitcher.
All right, the top 30 rankings are updated today at MLBpipeline.com. I gave away a little bit at the front, but I will let you read and check it out to see the rest of it as those top 30 rankings are updated. What else can I plug for you, Jim Callis?
Well, it's going to be a busy week this week at MLB Pipeline at MLB.com. We're doing our top 30s, East today, Central tomorrow, West Wednesday. Thursday, we've got your spring breakout rosters will be revealed.
That's right,
for every team. Friday, we'll have farm system rankings. And as we gear up next week, the weeks are blending together. I guess next week, spring breakout's the 14th or 17th. The Orioles are playing on the 14th. My understanding is that game will be on MLB Network, I believe.
Oh, I love that.
I'm pretty sure. I think that the plans are a little fluid with who's doing what games, but I'm pretty sure they plan on broadcasting that game. In fact,
that's awesome. And that
I'm 99.9% sure. So you will get the round 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we force the Pirates to make sure that Paul Skeens pitches that day?
Well, and he is pitching.
Excellent.
I'm pretty sure he's pitching.
All right.
But it's I know it's on, I think Pittsburgh's Regional Sports Network. I don't know about Maston, but I'm pretty sure MLB Network's going to show it as well.
Excellent.
So you won't need. I will be in Arizona. You will not have my phone recording this time, but you will get HD video.
I love this, Jim Callis. We genuinely appreciated the service that you provided everyone last week as well. At Jim Callis MLB, we could do this every day, and it would make me happy. Always appreciate you, man. Let's talk again real soon. All right.
Sounds good. Thank you, Glenn. Take care.
Jim Callis, boy, does he deliver. He delivers every time he's on with us. And I get it, as I said before, like it's been nice because we've had more to talk about the last few years than perhaps 10 to 12 years ago. But, man, he's great. When we come back in, I am writing about this today at PressBoxOnline.com. I don't think it's up yet, but I am addressing this conundrum, whatever you want to call it, because I'm not okay with using the word problem. It ain't a problem, but it's a thing of some sort. And we'll talk about it when we come back in. Baltimore Catholic League Championship was handed out this weekend. Bit of a surprise. St. Francis ended up winning the Catholic League title. Mount St. Joe was knocked off in the semifinals. Maybe still riding high after winning the A Conference. They were ripe for the pickings. You can find all of the coverage, all the scores from the Catholic League tournament and everything going on in the state basketball playoffs right now at countysportszone.com, which is brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. We'll talk some Orioles, and Garrett Degnon from Johns Hopkins scheduled to join us as we continue here on Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steaks since 1965. Make your reservation now at ruthschris.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and on the cover we look at the promise of spring for the Baltimore Orioles as Todd Karpovich and others shine the light on the team's hopes to take the next step towards championship contention and what reinforcements could still be coming. Plus, Pressbox personalities offer suggestions to David Rubenstein about stewarding the franchise. Also inside, Bo Smolka on how the Ravens defense could evolve with new coordinator Zach Orr. And we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's programs across the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
In hour number 2 here on GCR, I think the topic du jour to me, before I got all worked up about the stupid onside kick thing, the topic du jour out of the weekend in Baltimore was Colton Cowser. And Colton Cowser's already got 3 home runs. He's got 4 hits, 3 walks in 14 plate appearances so far this spring. As I just mentioned, MLBPipeline.com has him ranked ahead of Kobe Mayo on their prospect list, which is not consensus. Remember, who was it that had Kobe Mayo second? Was it Keith Law that had, or was
it wasn't John Mayo.
Was it Kylie Mc?
No, that would have been weird. But he does like John Mayo.
John Mayo's part of MLB Pipeline, so
okay.
No, we've had Keith Law, Kylie McDaniel, and now Jim Callis on.
Oh, yeah,
so one of them had Mayo third, Basayo second. The other had Mayo second, Basayo third. It's not really all that important. Colton Cowser's having a very nice start to the spring. Now, again, context matters, right? Like, we haven't really been watching the games. I would be able to go back and tell you exactly what he's done against whatever pitcher, but was that pitcher actually trying to get him out versus just trying to work on a particular pitch? It's always the thing that I warn you about taking too much inventory or too much stock in what's happening in spring training games or exhibition football games when we get to August. You don't really know at all what you think you know. What do the Orioles want what do the Orioles want Colton Cowser to do? These are all relevant things. But it's not bad, obviously. It's not a problem that Colton Cowser is off to a solid start to begin spring training. That, I think we can say, there's no way that it could be considered a bad thing. It's also not a bad thing that the Orioles have these many outfielders. It's not. No matter how many times we try to say it's a good problem to have, we're using the wrong phrase. It's not a problem. We got to stop thinking that way. It's just breathless when we say that. Well, that's a good problem to have. No, it's not a problem. You can do something there. We have decided that we feel like only 4 of them can make the Major League roster because you've got to have everyday at-bats. But what if the Orioles internally say, we don't really feel like it's that important that Ryan O'Hearn has as many at-bats? Or we're willing to take some at-bats away from Ryan Mountcastle. And we'll let Santander play some first base and Kerstad can play some right field. The other thing that we know about Brandon Hyde, I had a friend in the betting industry who reached out to me like, hey, man, Colton Cowser's off to a hot start. Should I take a flyer on him to win Rookie of the Year? I was like, what? And I get it. He's just looking for something, that would pay, something a little bit off the wall that would pay heavy. And I was like, yeah, I wouldn't myself. But if you're trying to figure out is will the at-bats be there, one thing that we do know about Brandon Hyde is if you're on the team, you're going to play. Like, that's been a story of the Brandon Hyde era, with the exception of Chris Davis, right? With the exception of, and even Chris Davis, they would give a couple at bats to. But he's the only player that they've ever, purposefully buried on the bench. Outside of that, if you're on the team, you're playing. And that's a more modern thought process throughout Major League Baseball. Like, we only get 26 roster spots. We can't confuse ourselves into thinking that, we need to use these guys. We can't just have somebody who sits on the bench. I guess the Kansas City Royals did that with their speedy outfielders in the Ned Yost era, where they were like, you're here for one thing and one thing only. You will come on late in the game and you will pinch run.
Did that pretty well, too.
It worked out. It was a solid strategy. But we don't see as much of that, and Braylon Hyde certainly doesn't operate that way. Even if you thought the purpose of Jorge Mateo was to be that guy, he's going to play Jorge Mateo. And again, the splits suggested that you should play Jorge Mateo against lefties. So the argument would be you could find ways to get all of these guys at bats. And if what you're saying out loud is it's not like Austin Hayes is so good that he has to be in the lineup every day, if your alternative is also a quality major league player. I'm listening to that. It's not a problem. As Jim Callis pointed out, you might need that depth. Somebody might get hurt. To think you have to address the problem would be incorrect. But it feels like you should. It feels like instead of calling it a problem, we should label it an opportunity. And to me, it's an opportunity I don't think they should wait to try to take advantage of. If ultimately your answer is, well, Santander's the first one up for free agency, so, if Kjerstad looks like he's the power bat we think he's going to be, and Mayo's behind him, and Gunner's hitting a few more home runs this year, and Jackson Holliday's hitting a few more home runs, and we can spread that home run power throughout the lineup, then it's time to move Santander, then I would be thinking about that now. Because ultimately, at the trade deadline, there will be fewer teams, and the only teams that will be interested would be teams that are competing now. And those teams only want to trade you prospects. And I'm not saying that ultimately you couldn't trade. This is the part that I will have the controversial take. I'm going to be okay with the Orioles still trading for prospects. If they use their glut of outfielders to say, hey, we'd like to fortify the entire organization because we've had a lot of players graduate in recent years, I'm not going to scream about that. I think other people might and say, how could you make a trade for somebody that's helping you now for someone that doesn't? You're trying to win a World Series. But what I would argue is you're more likely today than in July to find an Anthony Santander trade partner that might feel like they have a glut of, say, bullpen arms, and they might be able to trade one of those to you when they could use an Anthony Santander in their lineup. You're more likely to be able to do that today than you are in July. And I'm also not opposed to trading the prospects. If the answer is we got to trade Cowser and Kjerstad, he brought up Dylan Cease, that's tough. That's tough. But have you talked to David Rubenstein? Is David Rubenstein committing to, hey, if we got to spend some money in order to keep these guys around, and the Orioles internally believe Austin Hayes can be a Nick Markakis-like player for the next 10 years, 10 years is a stretch, 6 years, 5 years is the right number, then fine. And if there's a high-level trade to be made by dealing away a Heston Kjerstad or a Colton Cowser to get a frontline pitcher with some control, let's talk about it. It's an opportunity, not a problem. You don't have to solve it. But there's an opportunity to use an area where you have depth to do something else for your organization. There's no obvious answer as to who the odd man out should be. I think most of us would probably say, hey, the guy that you'd be most inclined to trade of the group today would probably be Hayes, right? Like, he's the one that you look at and sort of say, he's good, but does he do anything exceptionally? Santander is you're too reliant upon for home runs until you know that the next group of guys is going to hit the home runs. Mullins covers way too much ground in center field, and when he's on,
he's top 3, top 5.
Yes. So you look at Hayes and you say, here's the guy that's a good player, but I don't know that he's exceptional. So if you have to trade somebody, you trade him. The problem being, you would assume that all the other teams would feel the same way, and that the guy that you probably could get the least for would be Austin Hayes. Whereas another team would say, yeah, Santander can really hit home runs. That's something that we might not have in our lineup and we could use. Or another team would say, you mean to tell us that you've got an everyday center fielder that you're willing to trade that covers an insane amount of ground? Okay, well, listen. And they might be willing to give you a legitimate bullpen arm in exchange. I don't know. I just feel like the opportunity is there. And you will inevitably have to make some sort of decisions about some of these guys. You're going to have to make an Anthony Santander decision. I mean, you're either extending him, trading him, or letting him walk in free agency. One of the three. Those are the options. You have to make a decision about that. And if the decision is that you're not extending him, as much as we all continue to say, well, let it play out, like let him try to help you this year, I think you'd be better off trying to make that trade before the season begins than you would be trying to make it in July. We all just want to keep waiting. We just want to keep waiting. Well, let's see. But, like, where are the at-bats for Kjerstad coming from in order to find out if he's that guy if you're also holding on to Santander? At some point, the team has to commit one way or the other. I think that it's something they should start exploring now. Like, I don't think it has to wait till July. I think having more potential trade partners is a good thing. Now, some people say the desperation of July does you well, but it doesn't find teams that want to trade major league players to you. In July, they want to trade only prospects. Presumably, in March, the good teams would still prefer to trade prospects, but it's more plausible to get them to trade a major league caliber player for another major league caliber player. To the point that probably those deals for a Calzer, a Kjerstad would still be on the table in July, presumably. But if specifically you're trying to use one of the major league players as your hook to land another type of major league player, like once upon a time Jose Canseco was dealt for Ruben Sierra. These trades do happen every now and then where it's just two major leaguers. You have more bullpen arms than we do. We have more outfielders than you do. Look, that could be a match. How do we make those two things work? If that's what you're looking to do, it feels like you are more likely to be able to find that now. If the trade is Austin Hayes for a viable bullpen arm and, you know, a number 13 ranked prospect in someone's system, that doesn't feel overwhelming, but it's addressing, hey, we weren't going to be extending Austin Hayes anyway. We have a lot of outfield depth. We need help in the bullpen. And we brought back another prospect to further fortify the system as we've continued to have players graduate. But again, they might feel differently about Austin Hayes. They might think that Austin Hayes really is a centerpiece here. If that's the case, ask David Rubenstein if he can go ahead and extend him. Hour number 2 of today's show is brought to you by Ruth Chris. I'm so excited about all these new partners we have, like Atmans and Ruth Chris. It just makes me hungry, though. Ruth Chris, whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver to you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steak since 1965. Make your reservation now at ruthschris.com. I was just at Ruth's Chris for Valentine's Day. Highly recommend the zucchini fries. Highly recommend those.
You and your vegetables.
I know, right? How dare I try to eat vegetables? How dare I do that? Ooh. Scheduled to be joined by Garrett Degnon in a second. Brian Powell lets me know that the new media poll is out, and Hopkins is number 2 ahead of Army. Army's 5-0. They beat Syracuse, and they're still number 3. Interesting. How interesting. All right, yeah, Garrett Degnon scheduled to join us in just a second. Couple of things real quick before that. Number 1, if you had Mike Evans on your wish list for the Baltimore Ravens.
I did.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? He's Mike Evans. And he's the age where you feel like he could have been a Baltimore Raven. But scratch him off the list. Unfortunately, Mike Evans. And this is the problem with doing all these free agent games, like, at the time that we all want to do them, is that typically the majority of these players, the top end, don't end up reaching free agency because the reason why you want them is the same reason why the teams that have them want them, which doesn't mean that none of them will reach free agency, to the point we all believe Patrick Queen is going to get to free agency because some teams just have too many of them. But Mike Evans goes back to the Buccaneers on a 2-year deal, so scratch him off the list of your dreams for the Ravens offseason. I never thought it was practical to begin with. Trust me, a dream, yeah, sure, dream, but never thought there was any legitimacy to the idea of Mike Evans being a Baltimore Raven. Now we know it's definitely out of the picture. All right, what a win for Johns Hopkins on Saturday as they went down to Charlottesville and they took down Virginia, brought the Doyle Smith Cup back to Baltimore. Joining us now, a young man who's been through a lot during his Johns Hopkins career and is now enjoying the spoils of how things have turned around for the program, and they are looking to compete for a national championship. He is Garrett Degnon, Maryland native, and he is with us here on GCR. Garrett, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Congratulations on a big win, and thanks for taking the time for us.
Yeah, thank you. The weekend win was definitely a good one. Yeah, and thank you for having me.
No doubt, man. That seemed like a lot of fun. I could see the emotion that you guys. I don't know, you guys celebrate every win and you enjoy it, but in watching that on Saturday, it felt like there was some emotion behind that one and all the troubles that you guys have had with Virginia the last couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was the first time I beat Virginia in my longer career, so it definitely felt good. But at Hopkins, every weekend is honestly a big game, so yep. You'll see that emotion most weekends. But yeah, this past one was a little extra special.
Yeah, I was talking early in the show about how long you said you're a little bit longer career. You've been through a lot, right, at Johns Hopkins. You've been through coaching changes, pandemic, and disappointing seasons. How much more has it meant to you, the success that now you found last year and at the start of this year? How much more has it meant to you because you've been through so much during the course of your college career?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely meant a lot, just sticking it through, trusting the guys around me, trusting the staff, and kind of just persevering through it all. It definitely feels great.
Garrett, what is it that's changed in this program? Like, a big picture, dating back to last season. What needed to happen for you guys to get Johns Hopkins lacrosse back to the level that I have no doubt was the reason why you originally came to play lacrosse at Johns Hopkins?
I think the main big thing is just having confidence in ourselves. We've had the talent ever since I've been here. It's just, maybe sometimes we lack the confidence or even lack the trust in each other. So I think just the tightness of the group, how tight we are off the field, really just relays over to the game field and trusting each other and kind of feeling comfortable in these big games and knowing that we belong in the big games.
Yeah, clearly you belong in the big games. Garrett, can you speak to going into this season? Part of it clearly is that Denver is a really good team. We know that, right? They're the number one team in the country. But was there any ounce of maybe there was too much of a belief? Did you guys need to go through be humbled a little bit at home in order to respond the way that you have in the weeks that have followed that?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously losing stinks, and that one stung for sure. Home opener, first game of the season, but after a couple minutes at the end of the game, like a lot of us spoke in the locker room, and one point that I brought up was just that we're going to learn from it. I think our group works best when we don't have all the hype and number one in the country, yada yada. Like I think we work best when we're underdogs, and kind of that game pushed us back to underdogs, kind of pushed some bad media on us, which we don't have a choice but to be hungrier after that. So I think it was definitely a good wake-up call. Obviously, we would have wanted to win that game, but I think we're better from it just because having that losing feeling right from the get-go is something we'll remember for the rest of the season.
Clearly, it has certainly inspired you guys to a heck of a stretch since then. Garrett Degnon is with us here on GCR. How's this whole attack thing working out for you? Seems like that's been pretty. I don't want to say easy, but it seems like it maybe almost was like a natural fit when you made the move.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, my teammates around me, whether I was at the midfield or at attack, the other 5 guys on the field were honestly kind of doing the dirty work. I kind of am lucky to be the one who finishes the plays. So it's been a good transition. It's a bit easier. I don't have to worry about playing defense as much, which is always great. And I'm on the field in transition opportunities, and I obviously love to be out there on the field. So it's been great, but whether I was at midi or attack, the guys around me are really the ones letting me shine. They're the ones doing the dirty work, the hard stuff.
You mentioned your ability as a finisher, right? Like, we have seen some difficult angles, like that goal on Saturday late was almost an impossible angle. We have seen some crafty finishes and the power, obviously. Where did your skill set as a finisher come from? Like, where was it in your life? Who helped teach you that? How did you become such a lethal finisher?
I think I maybe kind of noticed my ability to shoot and finish early on in high school.
Yeah.
I wasn't totally developed as, an athlete. So I was, on JV as a freshman, and I was able to finish the ball when I was open. So I kind of realized it then. And then I kind of grew into my body, got a little more comfortable as an athlete. And just honestly, time in the backyard. I mean, my older brother played forever, and I always looked up to him, and my dad played in college as well. So just playing with them in the yard, my dad will pass me some balls or feed me to shoot. So it developed in the yard, but I guess, early on in high school is when I kind of realized I was able to shoot the ball.
Yeah, you clearly are. There's no question about it. Anne Arundel County kid, you end up at DeMatha, the path to Hopkins, right? Like, did you always know that was the goal? Like, that you were someone that just dreamed of playing for Hopkins the way that some kids do? Or was it not as simple as that?
No, it wasn't as simple as that. DeMatha is right next to University of Maryland.
Yep.
And they had obviously a great handful of years the last decade or two. So I rooted for them younger in my high school career, which pains me to say. Absolutely.
Wow.
But I, also was at Hopkins games growing up. I remember one specifically I watched them play Albany when the Thompson brothers were there, and Hopkins dominated. So that memory is definitely forever stuck with me as well. So yeah, I mean, when I was getting recruited, I didn't have a ton of looks from great schools, and Hopkins kind of just took a chance on me. And I know the history, I know the tradition, and I always kind of wanted lacrosse to be a way where I could get an education that I maybe wouldn't have without it. So yeah, when Hopkins showed interest, I immediately jumped to it. Just close to home, amazing lacrosse tradition, and a great education as well.
So did you have to, you or family members have to burn Maryland gear that was at your house? Because once you make that once you end up at Hopkins, there can be no confliction there. There can be no more hey, we kind of still like Maryland. Did you have to throw gear out that you had at your house?
I mean, I wouldn't even go as far as saying we had the gear at the house.
Okay.
Just being right next to it at high school, my high school teammates and I would just talk about them. And I mean, they were a couple blocks away from us.
Sure,
so
of course.
it was easy to kind of, root for them. But yeah, I mean, ever since I got the look from Hopkins, it's always been forget about the Terps.
No, of course, man. I completely understand. That's the way it works. What it will take now, having done it on the road at Virginia, what do you guys talk? Do you allow? Is it so hyper focused on we only talk about the next game, or do you talk about the bigger goals? Do you talk about we're winning the Big Ten tournament, we're going to championship weekend? Do you talk about those types of things now as a program?
Yeah, I think those conversations kind of happen more in the fall, in the off season when we're pushing each other every day, getting better. Those are the long term goals, obviously, and those are discussed in September, October, November. But the second January starts, it's a next game mentality. So yeah, I mean, we're obviously confident, but I mean, at the start of every week, a senior has kind of stepped up and been look, forget what happened last week. It's on to the next opponent. So I mean, I woke up to a nice message from another senior this morning, just saying obviously felt great on Saturday, but it's on to Syracuse, and kind of setting that tone at the beginning of the week and going through our meetings, our film, our practices, our lists with that next opponent in mind has made it a lot easier to focus
And what do you say you still can do better, right? Like, obviously you get such a good win. I think a lot of people would say, well, this just play like this, you're going to win all your games. But what internally do you guys say, no, we could as good of a win as that was and a quality opponent as it was, we still think we can do this better as you try to pursue those bigger goals?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can always be cleaner in the middle of the field, whether that's clearing the ball or riding some balls back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, clearing perfectly is obviously a goal. That's not easy. And then just, shooting better. I mean, the goalies are always going to make saves. But, there was definitely a handful of goals left out there on Saturday. So, we think about those and a couple failed clears. We think about those. And, I guess as a defense, just protecting our goalie a little bit better. I mean, obviously they're going to get shots, but chasing perfection is pretty impossible, but that's kind of what we're chasing.
No doubt, man. That's what it takes. You want to play Memorial Day. You almost have to be about that close to perfect in order to make it happen. Garrett Degnon, it's awesome watching you play, man. You are a hell of an offensive player, and it's been really cool to see your career unfold and everything happen there. I'm looking. I don't see. You're not really like a big social media guy. Is there anywhere where Hopkins fans can be giving you a follow?
I mean, I have an Instagram. I don't really post a whole lot on it. I mean, the Hopkins Lacrosse Instagram is posting a lot and is really doing a great job. So, I mean, you'll see some things with me on there, but I don't know. I scroll through Instagram and Twitter and stuff, but I'm not extremely active.
Man, if you continue focusing on lacrosse, I think good things continue for you. Garrett Degnon, pleasure to chat with you this morning. Awesome to see what you and your guys have done so far this season. Best of luck as it continues, and I hope we get to chat again before the season's over. Thanks for spending some time with us, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Have a great week.
You too. Garrett Degnon with us here on GCR after Hopkins got a huge win down at Virginia on Saturday. And number three this week number 2, as I said. I thought they were going to be number 3, but they're number 2 behind Denver in the new poll. Denver, number 1, of course, beat Hopkins in week 1, so you can't really jump them. You got a head-to-head matchup there. And then Army 3rd, Notre Dame 4th, Virginia 5th, Duke 6th, and Maryland drops to 7th after their loss on the road at Notre Dame yesterday. So that's where we're at. Yeah, tough weekend. Loyola. Loyola gets this massive, emotional win against Towson, dramatic.
Right.
And you're thinking to yourself, maybe this could be the moment that, propels them and gets them going. And then they turn around and lose on the road at Colgate.
Colgate's a good squad.
I mean, Colgate beat Penn State earlier this year. Colgate's clearly on the way up, but, that you want to win the Patriot League. You can't be losing.
Towson received votes.
Well, yeah, I mean, Towson's still – I mean, they bounced back, obviously.
Yeah, they did.
They beat UMBC on Saturday, took care of business the way that you'd expect them to. They get Virginia now next Saturday. Big game for Towson.
Gotta have it.
Yeah, I don't know if you can say gotta have it. Now you get an angry Virginia team.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, you were about to say it.
Oh,
Griffin was that close.
You're right.
Yeah, now you get a pissed-off Virginia team that's coming up here next Saturday.
What the heck, Garrett?
Oh, man. Yeah, you're mad at him because they went down and won, and now you can't catch them napping?
Towson was
next Saturday, or this coming Saturday at noon, big game. Towson, Virginia.
At
United Stadium. Yeah, so a big one, a cool opportunity to check out a big-time showdown this week. And we don't need to talk about Towson basketball either.
No, we don't
need to do that.
No,
I spent a lot of time with that one on Saturday.
Scumbags Wilmington.
Spent a lot of time.
They can just go ahead and throw a dunk down as time's expiring.
Yeah.
That's going to come back to haunt them.
You think? Oh, apparently Virginia.
I hope.
Virginia plays a midweek game this week.
Okay.
So they get they get Robert Morris tomorrow.
Not want to be Robert Morris.
Good news. Good news. Maybe Virginia takes all their anger out on Robert Morris
tomorrow. Come into
tomorrow.
Saturday fat and happy.
Yeah, right. Maybe that's the case. Good news. Thank you, Brian, for letting me know that. Towson basketball. It was going well for a little while. And then kind of just flipped there in the second half. And it's what it is. They're going to have to play on day 2 of the CAA tournament. So what's that? They play on Friday then?
Yeah, I saw the bracket. No, they'll play on Saturday.
Saturday's day 2? I thought Thursday was day
Sunday,
1.
yeah, because the championship's Tuesday. Monday's the semis.
Okay,
Sunday
Sunday's the
is
quarterfinal.
Yeah.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. All right, so
So we'll have
Saturday
to
will
win
be the
4 in 4 days.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I saw. I think they're getting. I don't know. They're getting like a NCAA&T William & Mary, I think, winner. So they'll.
you say that. Didn't they just lose to North Carolina A&T?
Well, exactly. That's not going to happen again.
Oh, okay.
No. They beat A&T.
Who'd they lose to?
They lost to
Hampton?
Hampton. Yeah,
Hampton.
they
That's
lost
who
to
they
Hampton.
All right, sorry. My bad. My bad.
Yeah.
Saturday they will play at 2:30 on Saturday in their CAA tournament opener. I keep what I'm struggling with is because I went to the CIAA tournament over the weekend. I was there on Friday for semifinal day. If you didn't get down, shame on you. The atmosphere is awesome.
Did you catch
awesome?
Shedeur Sanders?
No, Shedeur Sanders was at FanFest. I don't know.
Okay.
I guess he probably came over for the games at some point, but that's what everybody was like. He was hanging out at FanFest at the convention center, and apparently Fabulous was there on Saturday for the championship, and I missed him because I wasn't there on Saturday. I was there on Friday, had a great time. Apparently FanFest was awesome too, and I regret not getting over there to check out FanFest because everybody was raving about it. It was free. It was just a really cool place for folks to hang out, and they had a party vibe. But the games had a party vibe. Like it's what makes this tournament a little bit different than everything else. Like the bands and the fans singing along with the bands. It's just a different atmosphere than you get at a lot of places. And I had a great time. The arena looked great. I can see why they are setting the bar lower for what they might be able to do sports-wise. Like, whenever we talk to somebody, like, hey, the NCAA tournament, they'll be like, well, the NCAA women's tournament. Be like, what about it's not sightline-wise. It's very clear now that the new arena was built specifically for concerts. So I can see areas where sightline-wise, like, that back section off the floor that faces the stage is pretty far removed from the basketball floor, which doesn't mean you couldn't do those types of events there. I can just see why they don't know that they're going to be able to compete with the bigger buildings for getting those types of events. So the atmosphere is unbelievable. It's really it's perfect. It's perfect for the CIAA tournament, and enjoyed being down there on Friday. That was a lot of fun. Is there anything else that we needed to cover from basketball or local college sports this weekend? Maryland baseball swept Bryant.
They did.
They got that going for them.
Towson was competitive with NC State in baseball.
Yeah, okay. We'll give them that. Maryland women lost again. They got to play on an extra day in the ACC. There's not going to be anybody. There's going to be no NCAA tournament.
The ACC.
There's going to be nothing. There's going to be no NCAA tournament, local NCAA tournament.
I'm trying to think of what team might have the most, like Mount St. Mary's maybe. I don't know.
It's still a tough. The top
yeah,
end of that league is
it's
tough,
going to be
man.
tough, but it's it feels like.
I think Towson has no chance and has the best chance of anybody in the area.
Yeah.
And they have next to no chance.
I guess just because UMBC, just because the America East is smaller, so
maybe I don't know.
They could catch lightning.
They still have one more regular season game tomorrow night. And they did clinch their spot in the tournament because I did figure that out. Not every America East team makes the tournament. Loyola plays Navy in the first round of the Patriot League tournament tomorrow night, but they both have to play the opening round. Yeah. Not a good sign. Not a good. And I guess somebody would say the MEAC is still fairly open enough that any goofy thing could happen. And that tournament is also weird because they don't play that regular season goes through Thursday. Also, we can deal with this Conn. Remember when? No, I would like to take a break. Can we take a break?
Yes, we're gonna have to.
Yeah, we'll take a break. Then Jeremy Conn will join us. Remember the issue with doing his punishment on around St. Patrick's Day was that Tim from Bel Air pointed out it was also the start of the NCAA tournament.
Oh, so that's right because it is a week.
It's not.
Yeah, it's a week later.
I don't know how that happened. They screwed that up.
I know it seems way late.
I always appreciated the pandemonium of NCAA tournament St. Patrick's Day combination. It's a week later, so why can't we do it? We got to get to the bottom of this, and we got to deal with some other punishments. You got to step your game up this week. You got to deal with all that. You got to talk to people and say we're not no, because people just forget and push it aside. You got to be the a-hole here.
I do?
Yes, you got to nail that down. We'll deal with all of it. Jeremy Conn's going to join us when we come back in. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flight's Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Jeremy Conn here. The ultimate sports betting experience in Maryland is at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook. Join me at either location in Canton or in Towson and place your bets in person and be a part of the action. It's the best in-class sports wagering experience, complete with the ultimate TV package, ensuring you can catch every game all day, every day. Their state-of-the-art facilities bring Las Vegas energy right here to Maryland just in time for postseason football. So visit the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson and elevate your game day experience and hang out with me to bet, watch, and win at the Turtle.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
Back in here on GCR, we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson will get back together this afternoon. They'll be in action at 4 o'clock, talking baseball, talking Colton Cowser. Stan getting ready to head down to spring training, so I'm sure he'll be talking about what it is that he's looking forward to seeing down there. So join them, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Stan, Ross, and Luke today, 4 o'clock, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. All right, joining us now as he does every Monday, Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan, ConcreteLocks.com, CONN, Concrete Locks, and, of course, ambassador for the Green Turtle. He is our friend, Ambassador Jeremy Conn, and he is back with us here on GCR. What's going on, sir? How you doing?
What's up, man? Doing well. Just running around right now, trying to get some stuff done.
Can you remind everybody what the total was for Radiothon this year?
Yeah, well, I don't have the exact number, but we broke the record and raised over $1.4 million. I actually went into our boss's office this morning, or the PD from Mix 106.5, and I said, hey, since I didn't get to stay to the end of the night, where do I pick up my portion of the $1.4 million?
Yeah, where's
and to which I was confused. No, but it's great, man. It goes to all the kids, and like you're just seeing the families up there, and I mean, for anybody that has a heart, you go through it and you see somebody going through their worst time, and some stories have happy endings and some don't, and it's kind of hard to weather some of that things, when you're going through it.
$1.452 million, $1,452,604.35. You know what's amazing to me, Jeremy? And I think you and I talked about this before. I had decided at one point that I was done with radio, right? That like I didn't care. Radio was dead. And your relationship with Mo really changed my opinion about that, because I said there is still something special about radio. There is still something about radio that is unique and connects in a way that you can't via this thing that I'm doing or YouTube or whatever the hell anybody else does with the community and strangers, and it's still sort of unique in that way. And I'll tell you that, like, seeing this number, because I am jaded, and I don't feel about radio the way that I once feel about the medium. But for you guys to raise $1.5 million through something that exists through radio, to me is a miracle. Like, it's an unbelievable statement about the business. It's an unbelievable statement about the work you guys are doing. And I get it that Hopkins is a strong brand too, but I feel like that part of it shouldn't be ignored. Like, this is a radiothon. This is a radio event that just raised $1.5 million to help kids. That's magical.
Yeah, and this was Mo's favorite thing every year. And it's weird. It's like how I kind of got turned on to, like, he started calling the show, and then someone sent me the video and said, that's Mo dancing.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I didn't, and that's when I realized he was blind and, some of the things he was dealing with. But yeah, like, now being a part of this, I go to him every year. I said, use me as much as you want or as little as you want. I'm just happy to be a part of this. If you don't need me anymore, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if you told me to go away. But anytime you need me, I'll be here. So, it means a lot to do it. And then to see the donations coming across in all the different ways. And this week, so it kind of comes full circle. So I'm going to do a podcast on depression today.
Wow.
And I debated on doing this for a while just to talk about it. I'm not looking for attention, but we talked a little bit about some stuff that happened on Friday to one of Rob's friends. And, I started talking about it. And then all of a sudden I got all these messages from people saying, hey, I'm going through the same thing. So I figured I would do this and see if this helps anybody out there. At worst, all I do is embarrass myself talking about how sad I am all the time. But, long story short, like, I think all this stuff's important. And I did the same exact thing when I did the Big Mo show. I told my wife, I think I'm quitting radio because I didn't think I would do anything better than that. And I still don't think I can do anything better than that, but can I do stuff to help people? And, I just think it's a big part of what we all should be doing. And I take it seriously. So for a guy that jokes around about everything, that's the only thing I take.
No, dude, I greatly appreciate it. And I'm telling you, like, it changed my perspective on the business, and it gives me incredible hope. And I am truly grateful for that work that you guys are doing, and I know how much
I've often said when people think about me, they should think incredible hope.
Right? Those are the words that we use most frequently. Those are the ones that come up the most. Incredible. And I believe, in fact, that's what they called you when you were playing basketball, right? The Great Incredible Hope, Jeremy Conn?
No, there was white somewhere in there. There was definitely a white.
And it's actually just white. They didn't say anything about hope or incredible. It was just
the
white.
Incredible White Hope, I think it was. Yeah. So like that. I was the IWH. Anyway,
I was talking.
No, it is. Yeah. It's funny to look at, and I say that all the time. Funny is such a weird word to use in certain things, but like, just coming full circle, I meet this little girl at Johns Hopkins Children's Center, who she had diabetes and battling. Her name's Sadie. My grandmother, who was like my favorite person before I met Mo, her name was Sadie, and then she's painting me pictures, and I'm hanging out with them. And my next step is to try to get her, because she has diabetes, to meet Mark Andrews. And sit down with them. But, you run into these people, and then they affect your lives, and now you're trying to use your platform to help them out in some way somehow. So I think it's cool.
Jeremy. Oh, God damn it. You're going to make me cry. You son of a bitch. All right, great stuff. Now, F you. All right, I love it. So let me go here. We'll do a little sports here.
Okay.
I'm writing today, and I keep trying to say this the right way, because people keep using the term it's a good problem to have, and I want to keep saying we're breathlessly saying it. There's no problem that the Orioles have this many major league outfielders. It's not a problem. We have to stop that. The Dodgers have this many major league players at positions every year. Every year, they have this many major leaguers on their roster that can't play every day, and it's not a problem. The Yankees had it for years, where their roster was littered with players that could play every day on a lot of Major League Baseball clubs, but weren't because they were with the Yankees. We can't say it's a problem. But I feel like it's something that they need to address because it's an opportunity for them to help somewhere else within the organization. And I don't know which way it goes. Like, I don't know if it's trading away a Santander, a Hayes, or a Mullins because they're not committing to them long term, and they're all due to hit free agency in the next 2 years, and trying to get like some bullpen help by doing that, or if it's trading a Cowser or a Kjerstad in order to try to acquire another, frontline starting pitcher. But it feels like that they have an opportunity to go one way or the other because of all of these outfielders that they have.
Yeah, so this is kind of layered for me as far as what you have, because you're right, like when people say it's a good problem to have, but eventually, so if you're looking at the Major League roster, let's say Cowser makes the opening day roster.
Mm-hmm.
Is it better to have him riding the pine for you, or is it better to have him play every single day at AAA, or, to get his spot start once or twice a week? Those are the things that you really have to figure out in what you're doing. The other part of this, too, that I think is really interesting in just looking at the team is that you really haven't begun to pay anybody yet. So once you start paying people, clearly things are going to change, but you do have a logjam of outfielders. And I think the hard part is just judging whether or not you start them at the Major League level, because I don't know how much more Jackson Holliday or Colton Cowser or some of these guys have to prove at AAA. There are some people that believe Holliday should spend more time there. I think I've seen enough to know the type of player he is. So yeah, I'm like, it is a good problem, but like, is it something that where you're going to use a couple of these pieces to trade for one great player, or as you said, are you going to start using stuff to strengthen your bullpen or wherever else you're weak? The other thing I want to bring up is for the people who are like, well, you can just DH one of them. Well, you're not going to, because when Adley doesn't catch, he's DHing for the most part. So they're
not going to be the primary DH, and you're still going to want to find at bats for Ryan O'Hearn, presumably. Although I'd be willing to sacrifice that if necessary. And again, none of it is say it's a problem. Like the argument about, hey, if you're not playing every day, should you be at the minor? We can talk about that for eternity. But I think the question is, why have guys play? If that's what you're doing, why have someone playing every day in the minor league level instead of trying to use either that player or the guy that's blocking him to help in another area where you might not be as good? And I know that the argument from everybody is, well, you don't have to do that today. You can wait, like watch the first couple of months and see what you have and make those decisions in July. Well, like, yeah, maybe, except if ultimately your decision is going to be to trade Santander, nobody is trading you major league caliber players for your rental. Like, it's just not happening. So if that's the ultimate decision, is that you're trading Santander because you're not going to sign him at the end of the year, to me, I'd be trying to do that now to see if you can just find a match of a team that believes that they have a lot of bullpen arms and that they could let one of them go to acquire your power bat, because that's what they're missing.
Are you fine moving on from all three outfielders? And I'm not talking about at once. I'm saying like specifically each one. Like if they trade Ted Mullins, if they trade Austin Hayes or Santander.
So to say I'm fine with it, it's nuanced, right? I think that they should have at least one that they anchor down with. And part of that is just creating continuity and the way that we do things here and that chemistry that existed a year ago within this organization. I feel like you don't want to have all of these veterans walk away. Not to say that it won't continue with Jackson Holliday and, that group of guys, but I do think that part of this matters. Mullins is the one who, it's so difficult to talk about Cedric Mullins because he was responsible for literally all of our favorite moments a year ago. Everything that we remember about the 2023 Orioles was something that Cedric Mullins did, and yet we would say he had a disappointing season. And that's why it's so complicated, because we know that when he's healthy, there's one thing he can do better than anybody else. Nobody else can cover ground in the outfield the way that Cedric Mullins can cover ground. We also know he's limited as far as his throwing ability, and he's probably never going to be a 30-30 guy again. Like, we have to be able to talk like an adult about Cedric Mullins. But to have someone that covers such an insane amount of ground in the outfield, if he can stay healthy, that's a really good thing. And I'd be inclined, as good as you think Colton Cowser might be, I don't think he can match that. Maybe Enrique Bradfield can down the road, right? But
that's what I was going to bring up. But how far down the road is Enrique Bradfield? Because I don't think he's as far as everybody thinks.
And that might be what they're thinking about internally and why they're ready to move on. Like, they might in their mind say, dude, our outfield in 2026 is going to be Colton Cowser, Enrique Bradfield, and Heston Kjerstad. And so we're not signing any of these guys. And okay, like that might be the play. I feel like I would be inclined to try to keep one of them around for the purpose of continuing the continuity of the clubhouse, the chemistry, the sort of atmosphere that existed with this team. I'd be inclined to try to keep one of them around.
Yeah, I mean, as I look at it, each one offers something different. Austin Hayes was I think it's weird. I think Austin Hayes is probably the easiest one to move on from, but like, he's such a solid player in all facets. The only thing that we said about him is like, just stay healthy. And last year we finally got it for the most part. And now you're looking at it going, well, you got all these young guys that are under control for so many years. Why would you trade them? Why wouldn't you trade the guy now? I don't know. It's tough, man. Like, that's why I'm saying I think Mike Elias is I trust whatever he does because I think he's good at his job. But there's some really tough decisions coming for this team because Rob gets mad when I bring up Ryan Mountcastle because I clearly think you can get better at first base. And if you wanted to keep Santander, could you slide him to first base and work something with the outfield? But again, it's not me.
But then where's Kobe Mayo? Where's Kobe Mayo playing if that's the case?
Well, I'm just saying, like, and Kobe Mayo's another one of these guys that we haven't even really started talking about. I was talking to somebody else that you don't realize how big he is. But these kids are raking, man.
And this is the problem that I have is the way we phrase it. I don't think they have to make a trade because of it, but I don't think they should purposefully wait either. Like, that's the take that I end up coming to within this column as I talk it through is they don't have to do this before opening day. But I wouldn't be inclined to say, let's wait and watch it for 3 more months before you make the move. Like, if you believe in any of these guys, if, like, for example, to your point, if Santander is the guy that they say, dude, he's just too valuable, his arm is too good, he can play a solid right field, we need more power bats, we want to keep him around for another 4 years, then fine. But then work with Kjerstad. If you're committing to Santander, can Kjerstad be what lands you a pitcher? Can a package that starts with Kjerstad be the difference? Obviously, the Marlins asked for Basayo, but can you work through Kjerstad in something to try to land a Jesus Luzardo? I just wouldn't be inclined to wait for the sake of waiting and having major league players in the minor leagues if you don't have to, and if you can improve another area of your roster, I'd be inclined to try to make that move now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me, it feels so stupid, is that the White Sox clearly want to trade with the Orioles. The Orioles want Dylan Cease, or at least that was some of the rumors we were hearing before the Burns trade. I still think there's viability there for that move, especially with what's going on with Bradish. But, like, you know, both these teams to me are, I don't want to say they're both being pig-headed, but the White Sox are offering for the moon and the stars, and all we're going to do is wait it out, and then they'll probably meet somewhere in the middle down the line. So, but you know, that's probably going to happen with any of these teams that are trying to make trades, but the Orioles have more to offer than anybody else in baseball.
All right, so I want to ask you, I want to go right, this is my segue, Jeremy Conn with us on GCR. I want to go right from that to asking you about the most inappropriate place you've ever been naked. And I say that, Jeremy, because there's a tweet, and I was going to say, Rita and I do this Twitter segment every way, and I'll bring it up on Wednesday. Might be my favorite tweet of the year, and I'm just going to share it with you today. Okay. Sunday Divine tweets yesterday. You know, people ask all the time, how do you define the definition between rural, suburban, and then suburban and urban? And Sunday Divine has it figured out. If you're naked on the front porch and your neighbors can't see you, it's rural. If you're naked on the front porch and the neighbors call the cops, it's suburban. If you're naked on the front porch and the neighbors ignore you, it's urban. And if you're naked on the front porch and your neighbor is also naked, it's Florida. And that's just a perfect tweet, right? Like every ounce of that is a really perfectly crafted tweet. But as I was enjoying that last night, it got me to thinking about times where you've maybe been inappropriately naked in your life. because of drinking, because of whatever. You are someone that I saw. Of course, the Fan is doing a big 15th anniversary party, and I'm sick about it because they tweeted and Facebooked out, "Don't worry, Jeremy Conn will have clothes on." And I had been thinking about coming to this event before then, and then when I found that out, I said, "What the?" Yeah.
Yeah, they're writing checks at their ass can't cash. You know, they can't do that. They can't tell me what I can and can't do. If something
you have autonomy. This is America.
Coming over me, and I feel like getting undressed.
Right.
Yeah. I've been close to being naked in a lot of like what's the right word to use? Not flattering outfits where it's like
I'm looking for like not the showman. The time that you were like the time that you were naked and you didn't intend to be naked.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, there's a couple of those. Like we've definitely had one where I was asked to go streaking, and then drinks turned that into okay, let's just do it real quick. The one that caught me for a loop wasn't me getting naked. We played, so me and my beer pong partner were playing, and the rule was if you don't make a cup in a 10-cup beer pong game, you have to run the naked mile. And we'd won like 15 games in a row, and he was so hammered. He just couldn't even see straight and couldn't get a ball to go in. So they were like, "You got to run the naked mile," and he was just like, "Okay."
Yeah,
like,
just immediately.
He went to the bathroom, stripped down naked, and started swinging from like the ceiling as he's naked and running up and down the steps. Where I'm going, I definitely didn't have enough alcohol in me to do that around those friends,
right?
And all the girls that were there,
right?
But there have been times where I've stripped down and like skinny dipping and jumped into a pool or something off of a roof. The only thing that you really worry about is if you get risque and then there's kids around, because obviously.
Okay. So yes, then you're going to get arrested, right? No, and this is again, statute of limitations have passed. I remember being 20, and my buddy's grandparents had this big house in Virginia, and we would go down there on the weekends, and like they loved it because his grandparents were like half redneck, and like loved us coming down there, ripping it up, inviting friends, going crazy. They thought it was hilarious. So we would go down there basically every weekend and just they had a pool. We'd all go skinny. Like, it was crazy. And I remember one particular evening, his sister suggested we should go streaking. And, like, it became almost like a game of chicken. Like, okay, fine. You know what I mean? Like, we'll go streaking then. And, like, you take 2 steps, and you're like, ha, ha. And then she took like 4 steps, and like all of a sudden we were told that we ran like a half mile down the road completely naked on like a major road in Virginia.
And then you had to go back, or did
and
somebody pick you up?
They went and woke somebody up who was sober, and like it came chasing after us. Like, get in the car! What are you doing, you psychopath? Like, the sun was coming up at that point.
We played strip poker at senior week, and we were passing cards under the table. And I just remember, I remember that I ended up getting a girl completely naked that her nickname was Bones.
Okay.
but with all reds, so they didn't know.
Never even bothered to notice, huh?
Yeah, all reds. You got some hearts and some diamonds, all
right.
Reds.
Yeah.
So we did that. We definitely had some of those incidents, but more times than not, it involves with skinny dipping or doing something in the water, right? Running around.
Yeah. The skinny dipping was a common occurrence, but yeah, that one was the one for me where like the next day everybody was like, "Hey, no big deal," but like you realize you could have been arrested and like charged with, something that would register you as a sex offender tomorrow. And I was like,
Well, I told you what we used to do to pizza delivery guys is we'd put masks on and then like pull our underwear up the crack of our ass and answer doors. Right. Well, I had a buddy showing up. What I didn't realize is that he had somebody coming by, so I did the Silence of the Lambs, where the
chain
little
gum.
tuck tail and kind of goodbye horses moment, and opened the door. And as he did it, somebody was with him that I didn't know, so that was a really embarrassing moment.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's okay.
Yeah, no doubt. That's my go-to. All right, buddy, what's coming up this week for you?
Just a lot of stuff with the show, getting ready for obviously basketball. The Terps killed me on Sunday. I loved them on Sunday, and they just played so horrible in the second half. But it's more and more baseball talk as we get into it, and then the combine ending, draft talk, more of that.
What about anything with the Green Turtle? Anything like that we can plug?
Green Turtle, Towson Saturday night. So I keep telling people UFC and boxing. You can go watch it for free at the Green Turtle with no cover charge. So I'll be at Towson on Saturday for I think it's a UFC fight.
$2.99.
$2.99 this Saturday.
$2.99 this Saturday
Sugar
night.
show.
Yeah, Griffin's very excited about it.
Yeah, Griffin, if you want to come up, we can wrestle, man. So
Yeah, you're not doing better than that.
Clothes are optional, correct?
Well, it's Jeremy's involved. Probably not. It's what we had to guess.
Oh, okay.
At J Con,
I'll wear my unitard. We'll be good.
No doubt. At J Con Sports on Twitter. That's how you follow him. Of course, the Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan, ConcreteLocks.com, Green Turtle, the whole thing. Love you, buddy. We'll talk next Monday, all right?
See you guys.
Thanks, pal. Jeremy Conn with us here on GCR. I'm going to the list of things that I had for today that I didn't get into because we ended up talking about stupid extra points. Sorry, onside kicks, not even extra points. Extra points
That's
are
next.
actually...
Well, they're going to become extra 3 points.
Yeah, something like that. By the way,
only if you're losing.
Today's show is also brought to you by the print issue of Press Box, which is available at your neighborhood Royal Farms and at the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. On the back cover, a glamour shot of Jeremy Conn, Ambassador Jeremy Conn. On the actual cover, key group of Orioles, Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Cedric Mullins, Anthony Santander. Promise of spring, a preview of the season for the 2024 Birds. Go pick that up today for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms and at the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. On my list, Zach Wheeler. We mentioned Mike Evans earlier. Zach Wheeler, 3 years, $42 million per. Not $42 million. $42 million per for a total of $126 million clams for Zach Wheeler. Which I bring up not to say that it's definitive that that's the waters that Corbin Burns will be swimming in. I think it's unique with Zach Wheeler because he's 33, correct? So you don't the Phillies clearly didn't want to do something longer term with Zach Wheeler.
He'll be 34 in May.
Yeah, so now you're talking about taking him through
his age 36.
Yeah, he would be 37. He'd be going into 37. This would take him through his age 36 season. So, but I understand why they would balk at longer term. And if they're going to balk at longer term, then Zach Wheeler would say, well, then you got to pack more into. If you want me to do something shorter term, it's going to have to be for bigger dollars. $42 million per is, I mean, it's quarterback money that you're talking about now. I mean, it's almost insane to do $42 million per. Hang on a second. I'm trying to see what the biggest.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to compare it, like looking at what Nola got, because he got his annual value was 25.
So separated from Shohei Ohtani, right? Because he's two players, and so you just can't compare anything to Shohei Ohtani.
Let's get Jack Caglione, man, in Florida. He's doing Shohei Ohtani things.
I don't know anything about it. Who is?
He had like 6 strikeouts yesterday, or was it yesterday?
He plays for Florida?
Yes. And he hit a nuke as well in the same game after having 6 strikeouts as a pitcher.
How about that? This is water that only Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander had swam in before Zach Wheeler. And you're talking about two of the most transcendent, pitchers of a generation in Scherzer and Verlander. And I'm not saying that Zach Wheeler hasn't, Zach Wheeler has been.
Who the Orioles beat, right? In a series, in a playoff series? Was Scherzer already gone?
Oh, you're talking about
2014.
Scherzer. I'm like, what? Zach Wheeler? What are you talking about? The Orioles beat Zach Wheeler. Was he in Detroit in 2014?
I'm trying to remember when
he already gone to Nationals? No, I think he was still in Detroit, right? Wasn't he? Yeah.
I think so.
I think you're right. It's because that staff was loaded. It was Verlander. They beat both of them, is what you're trying to say.
Yes,
Verlander.
That is what I'm trying to say. Yes, that was his final season with the Tigers.
So it was Verlander, Scherzer, and
David Price. Was he on that team? I mean, he was there.
Go back and look up who the 2014. Porcello was definitely there. And you see that tweet go out every now and then where people will talk about, like, it was the greatest staff ever put together, and then Orioles fans will be like, what happened to them? always a good time on Twitter whenever that one pops up. You know which one always gets me whenever it goes around on Twitter again is the story of the father who gave his son the bat, like tricked his son into thinking he didn't get him a birthday present and then gave him the bat.
Robbie Ray was on that team.
Robbie Ray, Jesus Christ.
Wasn't good that year, but
no.
Yeah. Annabelle Sanchez was on that team.
No, Annabelle Sanchez was definitely still
Drew
legitimate.
Smiley.
They had a lot of pitching.
Corey Knebel.
How did their bullpen suck that much?
I don't know.
Because their bullpen was dreadful.
Joakim Soria.
Joakim Soria had the greatest nickname in baseball history. The Mexican.
Jim Johnson was on. I guess he probably wasn't on the playoff roster, but Jim Johnson apparently was on the.
I don't remember that at all. The Mexicutioner was Joakim Soria's nickname, and it's my favorite nickname ever.
Farmer.
Anyway, all right.
This was a.
Remember, Al Albuquerque was what you should pull up. Have you ever seen the Francesa Al Albuquerque clip?
No.
Somebody called Francesa and asked him about Al Albuquerque, and Francesa had no idea who it was and treated the guy like he was doing a bit. Like, okay, children. And then he tried to they went at commercial break, and they came back, and he tried to cover for it. Like, oh, he means Albert Albuquerque. I didn't realize that's who he was talking about. I guess people might call him Al. It's in an era where we got joy from Mike Francesa Mike Francesa believed that he knew more than anybody else did. The biggest lesson that I can give you in getting into this business is you don't. You don't. But we still reward that. We reward these doofuses.
I believe I have it.
Oh, you got it? Okay, this one was one of my favorite clips from WFAN, and I think it was probably on Fox Sports 1 or Yes or something like that at the time. Mike Francesa clearly having absolutely no idea who Al Albuquerque is and being unwilling to just acknowledge that.
Dave in Red Bank. What's up, Dave?
Hey, Mike. What's going on?
What's up?
I just want to talk about this guy, Al Albuquerque. I mean, what's his deal? How bad is this guy?
Who is Al Albuquerque?
Al Albuquerque.
No, you're supposed to say, if you're going to, it's really, if you're trying to be funny, it's Albuquerque. It's not Al Albuquerque.
His first name is...
I mean, oh, jeez.
It's like a prank.
Children, near the phones. I guess that young guy who called before was talking about the kid who came in the game last night. I thought he was making a joke about Albuquerque. Get it? But the guy's name is Alberto Jose Albuquerque. And I'm not sure. Maybe they do call him Al Albuquerque. I don't even know. I've never seen that kid pitch before last night. But that's who he was alluding to. I didn't know he was talking about the pitcher last night. I thought he was making a joke. I didn't realize I thought the guy's name was Alberto Jose Albuquerque. I didn't realize his name was Al. Yeah. They call him Al Albuquerque. If they do, I don't even know if they do.
This is what makes.
Because
what made our
when he was in the game, I didn't pay much attention to it. To be honest with you, but the kid's name
gave him greater fame because this is what he would do. He would constantly be wrong. He would constantly not know something, and instead of just saying, "I don't know that," like you just brought up, whoever this guy, who's this guy from the University of Florida?
Oh, Jack Caglione.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him. Never heard anything about him. And instead of trying to lie about it and be like, "Oh yeah, I like that kid, that Caglione kid," it'd be like somebody asking me right now, "Who do you think's going to win the NCAA tournament?" I have no effing idea. We used to. It's such a hard thing to imagine. Sports radio used to do a week of we'll fill out brackets for you.
Really?
Radio hosts don't know no more than 3. But
I think we need to bring that back.
Yeah, no, we don't. Part of it used to be.
Now they got the screen share thing. I'll just click.
In a different era of college basketball, you actually could name a player on most of the teams. Like before the transfer portal, before guys were leaving after 1 year. No, you couldn't.
We could do that once the bracket comes out.
No, you couldn't. You could not do that. No, you might start studying now.
No, okay, I won't. Well, I mean, I'm studying all season.
Today.
Not knowing.
Okay, name an Iowa State. One of the top teams in the country.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. You've proven my point.
But
you think you know college basketball. And I'm not trying to say you. By the way, in comparison to me, you definitely know probably more about college basketball at this point. I've been when Maryland stinks, I'm checked out. I was checked in on Towson for a little bit, and then kind of checked out there too. Like when Maryland stinks, it impacts. I was the same way with the Orioles. I know way more about baseball when the Orioles are good, and I'm watching every night because then I'm seeing the players from the other team, and then I'm monitoring them and what they're doing and the whole thing. When Maryland stinks,
it's Maryland's fault.
This is Maryland's fault. Okay. I can name Boo Booey. I can name Zach Edey.
So, the Big Ten guys.
Yeah, some of them.
Northwestern
I know Ace
should
Baldwin.
Yeah.
I couldn't even remember. I didn't watch yesterday, so I couldn't even remember who the players were for Indiana that I cared, besides Anthony Walker.
Renu, is that how it's?
Oh, yeah. And then who's the Japanese kid from Wisconsin?
Oh, Tominaga.
No,
Nebraska.
Nebraska, sorry.
Yes.
I don't know why I said Wisconsin. But yeah, even that.
Tominaga's fantastic.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. But I couldn't even come up with his name. Utterly checked out. Maryland stinks. I'm checked out. I know Filipowski. I know a handful of basketball players. A handful. Nick Timberlake because he went to Towson. And obviously Hunter Dickinson. Cam Spencer. That. Ask me to name an Arizona kid.
Name an Arizona kid. Name. Yeah.
No chance.
Pac-12's
Zero
tough.
chance.
Pac-12's going to be tough.
Couldn't name anybody who plays for Gonzaga this year. Couldn't name. And they beat St. Mary's, I know, on Saturday.
They did.
I guess I know Terrence Shannon, but not for good reasons.
No. The other kid, Hawkins, is good.
Coleman Hawkins. Well, he's an a-hole, but,
Yeah.
Talking trash about beating Maryland. Maryland stinks. Alabama's good. Ask me if I can name an Alabama player.
Name it out. They got a kid named Griffin. I know.
Okay.
His last name's Griffin.
All right,
so
they got that going for him, which is nice.
I do know that.
Tennessee's good. Ask me if I can name
Aaron
Tennessee
Strada's
player.
on Alabama because he's the Hofstra transfer.
I can name Shepard from
you
Kentucky.
should know the Tennessee kid, Dalton Connect.
I've heard of him.
He's the leading scorer.
Yeah,
it's him and Jameer Young are the top scorers in the country.
I've heard of him, but I couldn't have. Reed Shepard, I know.
Yeah, Reed Shepard.
I know Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Larry Nerd.
Yeah, Larry Nerd. I'm all in on Larry Nerd. A stigma is him. Just didn't catch on.
It's not too late.
I think it might be.
Well,
I think it might be too late.
Hopefully, Indiana State's sticking around for.
They might be around for a little while. I still don't think it's gonna stick. I still think that one's gonna be a difficult. But we used to be able to have debates about the bubble teams, legitimately on the radio. We could do a segment on the Friday before March Madness, before the bracket was unveiled. Drew and I would do a segment debating the bubble teams, knowing who they played. Who their quality wins were
got this week.
100%. We used to be able to do that
tomorrow night.
as sports radio content.
It's gonna be big. Actually, Syracuse probably doesn't.
Then there's a myriad reasons why it stopped being sports radio content. Most of it being our obsession with football became so dominant that people would rather hear you talk about the stupid combine than they would hear you talk about college basketball. Unless Maryland's very good, we do a minimal amount of college basketball. And so, thus ended the death. But Mike Francesa kept doing it. And Mike Francesa had no idea who played on the teams. And would just say things like, all right, so now we're looking at this Florida State-Maryland matchup.
Lipscomb could upset Michigan State.
Maryland, they're of course well coached. And, they got that guard.
They typically do have at least one guard.
Florida State. I like Florida State. He would do that as radio when he knew nothing about the teams. And nobody up there could just be like, hey, Mike, maybe not the content for you anymore. Maybe you focus on the Yankees and not pretend like you know anything about West Virginia basketball when you clearly don't know a thing about West Virginia basketball. We bring on Patrick Stevens. We talk about college basketball because he knows about it.
Do you know who the best team in the American is this season?
The American?
Yes.
South Florida?
Yeah, South Florida.
Yeah, they were having I remember they were having
15-1.
I'm not going to pretend like I've been paying attention to every game, but I remember them having a very good season.
Yes.
Couldn't name a player. Couldn't name a player with my life on the line.
No, you can't.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie about it. Imagine me breaking down.
Great name.
Imagine somebody saying, hey, Glenn, what do you think about that South Florida Creighton matchup?
The leading scorer, great name.
Who?
Chris Youngblood.
I do like that. What's up, Youngblood? Like that. All right, we got to take one more break.
We do.
Piss. Oh, I didn't. All right, Zach Wheeler got a bunch of money. I don't know what Corbin Burns would look like. I don't know because Corbin Burns is only 29, so presumably you could go longer years. But once you set the top end of the market as being $40+ million for a starting pitcher, if I'm Corbin Burns, I'm asking for 5 years, $210 million, right? Why wouldn't I ask for that? Somebody would say, well, yeah, but you don't want to go 5 years for a pitcher. Okay, well, I do, and I'm Corbin Burns. I think it's I think it's a lesson. I think it's a lesson about what the top end of the pitching market is going to cost. And when I say
and pitchers like the great pitchers have proven that they can't, like Max Scherzer,
clearly that group of guys has pitched well into their late 30s and into their 40s, and maybe that would be the argument for why it might be that the Phillies said we don't want to go that long on a Zach Wheeler deal, but maybe it was also Zach Wheeler saying that gives me one more chance to get one more contract. It might be that Zach Wheeler didn't want to go 5 years. That he said, no, if I get to free agency again at 36, then I got one more chance to cash in on another mega deal, and God knows at that point the market might be $52 million per year for top-line starting pitching. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It might be that was more a Zach Wheeler thing than it was a Phillies thing. But if you want to keep Corbin, I'm convinced that Corbin Burns is not sticking around. I don't think there's a chance in hell. But for those of you that are, like every time I bring that up around Stan, he's like, well, I'm not so sure about that. I'm like, God bless you, bud. I like the positivity, but until we see, and if the thought is we just don't know, we don't know how David Rubenstein and his crew are going to act. You're right, but until we see it, I'm going to continue to operate assuming the other thing. That's just the way that's going to be. Oh, and congratulations to Caitlin Clark. That was obviously, another cool moment. We get into the minutia of does it matter that she broke the men's, like, to me, she already had the record, right? Like, her record was the one before. This is just more like neat too. Like, it's neat too. As some people pointed out, there are players at other divisions. Like, when you say that she's the career college basketball points scored record holder, that's not technically true either, because there have been players at Division II, Division III that have scored more career points than that. That's why, to me, like, in a way, this one kind of didn't matter. Like, she already had the record by getting Kelsey Plum's record when she broke that. But
like, her league,
yeah. I mean, look, Caitlin Clark's amazing. She's unbelievable. And now the WNBA is about to get the biggest boost that they could have ever possibly asked for. She confirmed last week that she will not use another year of eligibility and that she will be going into the draft. And so the Indiana Fever are now charging like $1 billion per ticket for this summer, and will probably have no problem getting people to pay it. I can't believe, like, that's the real crazy part is that I think the Fever play in a big building, but like some of these teams play in,
right.
The DC team plays like on a 5 in like the Towson, like they basically play in a building that's the same size as CQ Arena. This is a step down for Caitlin Clark and some of these visiting cities and some of the smaller buildings that they'll be playing in, and it will not. Like, if you're thinking to yourself, let me look at the Mystics schedule and see when Caitlin Clark might be coming to town this summer.
It's tough to get in.
You might end up being disappointed or they might want to think about maybe moving that game to the big building. I don't know. All right, we'll come back in. When we do, we will get a tidbit and we'll get Tuba to wind things down for a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Hey, it's Jeremy Conn. This postseason, bet in person at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks with locations in Canton and in Towson, and enjoy the best in-class sports wagering experience at their state-of-the-art facilities, bringing an unmatched sports betting thrill.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis. AJMichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
You didn't go see Dune, did you?
No, I did not. Not yet. It's on the list. I'll get to it. Sounds like it's getting better reception than the first one.
Now it's getting, crazy good reviews. I tried.
I'm not looking too much because I don't.
Here's my problem. I started watching the first one, and it was just so much for me to look at.
I wasn't a big fan of the first one. I mean, and I think I should have, I didn't go see it in theaters, and I feel like that would have helped a lot.
Raved about the experience. I don't.
But
I don't want it to hurt. I felt that way about everybody loved Mad Max Fury Road, and I was looking at it was almost a headache to me. It was just so much for me to look at. I always will prioritize, give me story over visual, right? The visual's cool. I'm not saying do bad visual, but I always want story over visual. I don't know. It didn't move me I should go to a movie theater to be a part of this, but part of it is I just didn't feel that way about the first Dune. There's so few things anymore that move me. I feel like there's one. Is there a
what?
One? There's only a couple Marvel movies scheduled for this year, right? I feel like one of them might have been one that I was inclined that I would go see in a theater. Anymore, it takes a Rocky movie. It takes a Creed.
Spider-Man, obviously.
Spider-Man is this year.
No.
Oh,
no. Get you out.
No, the second Spider-Verse, the next Spider-Verse is this year. That was one of the few things that got me to a movie theater last year was Spider-Verse.
Deadpool 3.
Deadpool 3, yes. Will absolutely get me to a movie theater. No question about that.
There's the Craven movie.
Yeah, that probably will not get me to a movie theater. I don't think that one. Don't think that one.
I mean, if
will
it's
get
over
me
the
into a
summer,
movie theater.
okay, it's okay. Because if it's during football season, it's almost probably definitely
no chance of that.
It's
happening.
August 30th.
That's still close enough
I
to
know,
the.
it's
that's
kind of
that's like the first weekend of
college football.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna get me to a movie theater.
I don't know.
Yeah, don't think it'll happen.
Oh my God, they're doing a Venom 3.
I don't hate the Venom movies the way that people hate the Venom movies. I enjoyed the Venom movies. I don't get it. I don't know what the beef is with the Venom movies.
Juno Temple's in this one.
She, of course, was brilliant in Fargo, so I'm willing to let Juno Temple do anything at this point. She was on. Like, Keeley was fine, but was like a kind of a
We'll
kitschy
see about
character.
Spider-Verse because they haven't announced a date yet.
Oh, I don't need that. My kids ask me every day. Remember when I took them to see the first
Just
one?
keep showing them the first two.
And the movie just stopped, right? They were like, what the hell? Like, my kids were furious. And I said, well, boys, it's part 1 of 2. You wouldn't want to sit here and watch all 6 hours at once or whatever it was. And I remember my younger son said, no, I'll do that. Go tell them that I'm willing to stay. Like, he wanted me to go inform the movie theater that he was okay with sitting for another 3 hours to watch the other part of the Spider-Verse movie. He was not okay. And
I was under the impression you had that power as well.
I'm like, buddy, we got to go. And every day since, what was that, May of last year?
Yeah.
Every day since then, I swear to God, it does not go more than a week without my kids being like, when's Spider-Verse coming out? Like, I don't know, buddy, soon. I just keep saying that. Soon.
They're just like me, honestly.
It's a stretch for how many times I'm going to be allowed to say soon. It's too much. All right. A Goose Flight's still available in cans at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill, as well as at Alonzo's on Cold Spring Lane, as well as the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton. Cans and Sixers out at Costas Inn in Dundalk, or at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. Sixers and cases at the Wine Source in Hamden. $1.98 from every can sold goes to benefit the Goose Flights Foundation. Find out more, pressboxonline.com/gooseflights. And we should say something this morning about Chris Mortensen, obviously. I would be lying if I said that I was close with Chris Mortensen. I was never close with Chris Mortensen. I would see Chris Mortensen at various events. Obviously, in more recent years, he was not traveling as much because of his health issues. But if you went back to like the late aughts, Chris would come cover the Ravens sometimes, not as much as like obviously Sal and some of these other guys did, but from time to time, would always make an appearance during training camp, and he was also not like a regular on the show, and that's why I'm almost jealous of people, because I really liked Chris Mortensen, and as far as people that were good at what they did. My buddy Pete Medhurst said, like, he always was telling you the story. He wasn't the story. Chris Mortensen was from an era of reporting that was, this is what's going on. That's what I know. He understood later in life that he also had to offer opinions and had to offer thoughts, and he got to that place. Like, he was very anti-Thursday Night Football. Like, he hated Thursday Night Football.
Might not have been wrong.
It's complicated. We all know that there shouldn't be a Thursday Night Football, but not a single one of us wants them to get rid of Thursday Night Football. We all know this is a sham. But unlike the sham that is this onside kick thing,
we're all going to watch Thursday Night Football.
Every single one of us, every game. They could tell us tomorrow that they would be broadcasting it through Nickelodeon Junior, and we're going to watch. I absolutely was someone who looked up to Chris Mortensen and respected the way that he did things, and he really was quite kind, and would say hello whenever he would come through town, and he would come on the show even if it wasn't frequent. And maybe in hindsight, I regret not asking him to do it more, because again, listening to everybody else talk about his kindness, he probably would have been willing to do it more often. We didn't associate. Mort wasn't typically the one that was reporting on Ravens-related things. There were some other teams that he was more kind of directly connected with over the years. But, man, so good at what he did. Just an unbelievably, great for what he did. And was kind. Was a very kind guy. I wish that I would have known Mort better in hindsight. Like, that was my sadness yesterday. It was like, damn, why didn't I spend more time getting to know Mort? And like some of these other guys, I would, like Sal, my God. But really, 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 really good guy and really good at what he did. So terrible, terrible news from this weekend that Chris Mortensen had passed away. All right, no easy way to transition, but tidbit of the day. It'll be brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com, and you can still play Pick'em High school basketball season is winding down, but you can still play Pick'em. Get your picks in, check the leaderboard, see where you stand. If you think you know high school hoops, go to countysportszone.com and play Pick'em today. It's brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com.
Caden Clark did break the, we'll call it, I guess, the Division I scoring record.
Sure.
And but she also had yesterday her 37th career game of 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. No other player, no other Division I player, male or female, has had more than 10 such of those games this millennium.
She's very good.
35-5 again for Caitlin Clark. So
she's very good.
Very good. And then I want to do, of course, we had history in Indianapolis as well on Saturday.
I don't know.
Fastest 40 time
Xavier
ever.
What was Xavier Worthy, right?
Yes, Xavier Worthy. So go ahead. Can you name the top 10 40 time?
No.
All right, name one.
I actually used to know this.
There's
Darius Hayward Bay.
No.
How the hell did he get there?
What was his time?
It was fast.
Yeah, I remember it being fast. But when did he run? I guess because now,
yeah, because
now
now
there's so many.
The speeds are just so much faster these days. Chris Johnson, right? That
he's up there. Yes, he was fourth, 4.24 back in 2008.
I'm not sure that I'm not sure.
The 2017 was the previous hole. This was set the 4.22 before Xavier Worthy's 4.21.
Am I supposed to know?
Great wide receiver. I think we wanted him to the Ravens. He ended up going to the Bengals. And, of course, had he's definitely one of the receivers of all time now, John Ross.
John Ross, I do remember that. Yeah, John Ross. Jesus. Wow.
Tariq Woolen had a 4.26. That ties him for fifth.
Okay.
That was 2 years ago. DJ Turner, the second.
He still didn't go to, like, the fourth round, right?
Tariq Woolen, yeah. It was the third or fourth. I guess we won't talk about him. Marquise Goodwin had a 4.27. Henry Ruggs had a 4.27 as well.
Oh.
Yes. Those are your top guys.
Neato.
Yeah.
Neato. I'm sorry, man.
And then
if you're into watching that, God bless you. It was a big weekend for you. You probably needed a cigarette, but it'll never be from your boy.
Come on. Did you see Eric DeCosta's reaction?
Great. Wonderful. Everybody was freaking about who is the kid that did the 3-cone. Oh, it was Rome. Rome. Or is it Rome? Rome. From Washington, the receiver. Rome Adunze. Rome Adunze, I guess, was struggling in the 3-cone and stayed until everybody had left in order to finish the 3-cone or something
now
like that.
I'm seeing a clip of Troy Fotzen, who's just him doing all. They're splicing up his thing.
Everybody's very excited about it.
320 pounds shouldn't move like this.
I hear you.
Might be able to play tight end. That's what they're saying.
I don't think the Ravens would need that. They would just need a lineman. Got anything else? Is that what you had?
No, that's not right. Josh Hart last night had a triple-double with 19 rebounds and 3 made threes.
Really? Is this what we're doing?
Yeah, this is really what we're doing. He's the third player in NBA history to have a 19 rebound triple-double while also making 3 threes. He's only the third player.
Yeah, well, this is so specific. Oscar Robertson.
Not the big O.
Russell Westbrook.
Okay. Josh Hart and
Kevin Garnett.
Not Kevin Garnett.
I don't want to guess more guards because 19
not
rebounds is so much.
Yeah.
It probably shouldn't have even been Russell Westbrook. That is really kind of amazing. God, he's going to be a complicated figure to talk about. How are we going to handle Russell Westbrook when we talk about the history of basketball? There's going to be no. He's obviously
amazing.
He's a Hall of Famer, right? That was a complicated ass figure.
He was one of my favorite players in.
It wasn't like he was
high school.
ever on. It's not like he's only been on bad teams. It's not like he's been on good teams.
He was with the Wizards.
Oh God, I forgot that was a thing.
But then he was March. He is when he figured it out with the Wizards, and he had an unbelievable March.
It's gonna be difficult to talk about Russell Westbrook's place in basketball history. It's gonna be really because his numbers are insane. The other forward that had a triple-double that would have made 3 threes in the course of the game. Luka.
Not Luka. I'll give it to you.
Sure.
Boogie Cousins.
We could have been here a while.
There is one player that has had the most, not remove the triple-double from it, 19 rebounds and 3 threes in a game. One player's done this 9 times.
19. But 3 threes is not. Like, you have to focus on the rebounds, not the threes. 3 threes in this era of the NBA could be anybody.
There's only 8 guys that have done this multiple times.
Embiid.
Not Embiid.
Not a good start.
I like this list of names on here.
Oh, good. That's a good way. Kevin Garnett.
No, not Kevin Garnett.
Russell Westbrook.
No, not Russ. They are
forwards.
They're pretty much all forwards to have done it multiple times.
Anthony Davis.
No, sorry.
Somehow it's Draymond.
It's not Draymond. Embiid only did it once. Anthony Davis has only done it once. Kevin Garnett's only done it once.
God damn it, man. Tatum.
Nope. Not on the list.
Who the hell are Giannis?
Not Giannis.
Who are these? I get Jokic.
Yes, Jokic has done it thrice.
I probably should have started with Jokic. That's on me. Cat.
Yes, Karl Anthony Towns 4 times. The guy that we just mentioned before. I guess.
Boogie?
Yeah, Boogie has done it 5 times. 5 such games with 3 threes and 19 boards.
How many more are there?
We're missing the top guy. I'd like to get the top guy, and then I'll start giving it to you.
Dirk.
Not Dirk. Only once.
Didn't really get that many rebounds. That's the problem there. I don't know.
Top guy, is he still? Yeah, I guess he's still active.
Guess he's still active. Gobert? No.
Not Gobert. He
I think
was
of somebody that would qualify
a long-time Timberwolf. Won a championship with LeBron James.
A long-time Timberwolf won a championship with LeBron James.
Wow, he's averaging 9 points a game with the Heat this season.
Averaging 9 points a game with the Heat this season.
I guess I say long time. He spent he spent more time with LeBron James than. Well, no, I shouldn't say it like that. He spent first 6 seasons with the Timberwolves.
First 6 seasons with the Timberwolves.
Then I feel like this is gonna give it away. But then he went to Cleveland. To join forces. Actually, I guess he went there first, and then LeBron.
Oh, Kevin Love.
Kevin Love.
I forgot that Kevin Love was with the Heat.
9 games.
I completely forgot that Kevin Love was with the Heat.
9 games with 19
answer.
and 3 for.
Should have thought about.
It is a Kevin Love game.
Man,
so
we could have been here for a while without me remembering that Kevin Love played for the Heat.
You have the top 4 with Love, Boogie Cousins.
Right, it's 12:37. Can we just
2 games such for Chris Boucher? Has done this twice.
Chris Boucher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nikola Vucevic.
Okay.
Done it twice. And then 2 more guys from the 90s. So this is your era.
Come on, man. It's 12:37. What are we doing?
Robert
Ory.
No.
Chris Webber.
You got a bad boy Piston on here.
A bad boy Piston that's on this list?
And then one of your favorite players of all time.
Bad boy Piston, one of my favorite players of all time.
Well, the 2 separate.
Right.
Yeah.
The bad boy Pistons, Bill Laimbeer.
Bill Laimbeer's done this twice.
One of my favorite players of all time. Well, it's not Shaquille O'Neal.
It is not Shaquille O'Neal.
One of my favorite players of all time. I don't know.
Charles Barkley.
Oh, yeah, that's dumb because I'm falling in my own trap.
Active guys that have done it.
That he was
funny. Kyle Kuzma's done this once. Christian Wood's done this once. Jason Tatum, I did say no. He is on the list. Bobby Portis, Larry Markkinen, Paul Millsap.
It kind of makes sense.
Tobias Harris. That's pretty much the list.
All right, that's a random-ass list. What a random list.
I like that. That's why I was...
Tubular brought to you today by Atman's Deli. I'm so excited that Atman's Deli is on board with us because I've never been able to talk about how much I like Atman's Deli in the past. Atman's Deli rules. And if you're craving that classic New York deli experience, look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. They've got a bar at the new Atman's. Atman's Harbor Point. Go to atmansdeli.com for daily specials. Here's what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise. We are winding down. Final, as Patrick Stevens warned us, final MEAC Monday of the season. Cobbins at home against South Carolina State at 7:30 on ESPN+. Morgan hosts North Carolina Central at 7:30 on their website. No TV tonight or this afternoon for the Orioles and Twins.
Gunnar Henderson's in the line.
Okay, that's good news. First appearance of the spring. Cole Sands, Dean Kramer, the pitching matchup there. Big college hoops tonight. ESPN's got Duke, NC State at 7, Texas Baylor at 9, Monumental Wizards Jazz at 9, NBA TV, Clippers, Bucks at 8, Thunder, Lakers at 10:30. MLB Network has Phillies, Blue Jays at 1. The USA Network for Sheffield United and Arsenal at 3. What?
You're burying the lead?
What?
The Atlantic Sun tournament starts tonight.
Yeah, I don't think there's any TV. I think it's just all streaming. Well, we don't do all the streaming college basketball games, Griffin. We'd be here for hours if we did that. WWE Monday Night Raw tonight at 8
but it's
on
a
the
highlight
USA Network.
sure.
No, it's not. Non-sports.
The Bachelor, of course, is tonight. MasterChef Junior. Season 9 on Fox.
Really?
Yes.
I've heard nothing about it.
Season 8. And then right after that, So You Think You Can Dance, Season 18.
Big news in the Clark
With
house.
JoJo Siwa back as a full-time judge now.
Oh, sure.
So You Think You Can Dance. So stick around. Fox is the place to be, I guess. Netflix has a show. I don't know if this will be up the boys' alley. Hot Wheels Let's Race. Children's series on Netflix, which I feel like I would have been all over when I was a kid.
Sure.
My favorite would have been...
There's a Hot Wheels racing game at
the Velociracer.
We went to Dave & Buster's sometime. I don't remember why. Somebody gave us a gift card for Christmas, and they have a Hot Wheels racing game there, and it was my favorite game. They kept asking me to play it again. I was like, okay. It was fun.
Deal or No Deal Island's time slot premieres tonight, 10 o'clock on NBC's on Mondays.
Okay.
Deal or No Deal
Enjoy
Island.
Joe. And he wears a shirt?
Uh,
Big mistake, Joe Manganiello wearing a shirt. Big mistake. All right.
Maybe that's how they're going to pull, a couple episodes in.
Oh, then he takes his shirt off?
Everyone's like, oh, shoot, yeah.
And by the way, I did see from the preview, they're trying to, they're adding challenges. It's not Deal or No Deal anymore.
Physical challenges?
Yes, they're doing challenge. I guess you can get more cases. Stop it.
Julianne Moore's on Fallon.
What's she plugging?
There's a series coming out
The May
soon.
December movie because it stunk.
No, she's done with that, I think. Mary and George. It's out on. It's going to be in Star. It's a Star show, and coming out in April, and it's about like King George's affair with King James.
Sure.
She's Mary, and she's like behind it all.
Sure. If you want to bet Morgan or Coppin tonight, they're both big home dogs. Morgan's 7-point dogs, Coppin 7.5-point dogs. But you can bet them. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. All right. Thanks today to Jim Callis. Thanks to Garrett Degnon from Hopkins. Thanks to Jeremy Conn. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God. It's so good.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. On the program tomorrow, Tuesday stuff. Patrick will join us. We'll talk college hoops because reasons. We'll get it caught up on,
I guess.
Yeah, that's what we'll break down. Stuff and things. Oh, boy. If you know someone who would make a great guest on Glenn Clark Radio this week, please, by all means, get in touch because it's a struggle. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Roos Chris, Live Casino and Hotel, Atman's Deli, A.J. Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Superbook, Sports, Glory Days Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday night. Go Morgan, go Coppin, Duke sucks.